Hello, everybody. Give me one more second here and we should be good to go. I just got the tweet out. Do me a favor, go give it some love. I'm going to grab you guys today's sauce. Okay. Vive la France, Cad. So I had a good chuckle about that because I was talking with Trubs, and I know Trubs didn't want any of my bullshit, but basically I was pointing out that while this is an ordeal call for Japan, for Tokyo specifically, I'm kind of annoyed that they made it France because it's France, right? Like you have 3 different French characters in this. Don't get me wrong. I'm still excited for it. I still like the fact that these characters are finally getting some much needed attention. But like I'm like, why can't you just do a French singularity then at that point? Like, I don't know. That's kind of my issue is FGO's done this a couple of times where they supplant the location with practically another location. Massive goth titties indeed. Here is today's artwork for you guys. Go give the artists some love, and hello, Weiss. And yes, that is Marie Alter you guys are seeing. We also got animation updates for both John and Jalter that have been long overdue. So now, chat, look, I'm gonna be transparent here. King, Cartosis, Alba, Shadow, King Gil, and yep, I think that's all of you guys. Thank you guys for the resubs. But yeah, let me be transparent here. And the transparency is that I think, in all honesty, that this is why we kind of have to be patient with the devs. What do I mean by that? I mean that we all criticize the devs for not doing Jalter's animation update back when we had the Fate Samurai Remnant campaign. And were we wrong to criticize? Not really. Like, I think this is a thing where it is what it is, right? Like the devs are obviously having issues getting stuff out. So at the end of the day, this is why I said the issue is not Jalter, right? There were a ton of people back then that were like, oh my god, why doesn't Jalter get an animation update? I'm like, the issue's not Jalter. The issue is that it has been 2 years practically since we have seen an animation update in FGO. It's not one unit, it's all the units that still need it. And pretty much on the 2-year anniversary, because the last animation update that FGO had was Tesla during Tesla Fest. So the last animation update that FGO had 2 years ago, now we end up getting our next animation update for both John and Jalter, right? So, like, again, yes, did they need it? Absolutely. Were they overdue? Absolutely. But that's why, to me, you don't make the argument about one unit. If you make the argument about one unit, you have egg on your face. You look like an idiot for calling the devs out for not doing that particular upgrade. Because now, oh, look, they clearly delayed it for a reason. And I'm going to tell you that retroactively, as much as people would have preferred Jalter get an animation update back then, that people can look at this and say like, oh yeah, hey, this is actually much nicer. This is actually a lot more like time in the sun for Jalter in that regard. So like, to me, again, this is why we have to be somewhat patient with them, but also at the same time, we have to call it like it is, right? Like, when the devs aren't doing something, you need to call them out for not doing it. But don't bias yourself. Don't make it about a particular unit or something like that. Try to have a constructive criticism, try to have a good argument, and try to make it about a more holistic approach to the game. Because that's, I think, the issue that needs to be heard. The devs need to hear, hey, where the hell is our animation updates? Not, why doesn't Jalter specifically get one? And again, it worked out for us here. And I'm glad that we finally have it. I am happy with the animation update. I think Jalter's in particular, I'm actually not a huge fan of how they changed the NP. But that's just because I think her close-up with her face looks a little weird. It's just, I think it's like the blown out hair from behind just looks really odd to me. But still, I'd rather have it than not. So at the end of the day, I think I'm happy with the update. And Roxas, thank you for the 59. Yeah, I even joked to Trubs. I said they got rid of one meme and they replaced it with another. So the meme is that Jalter needed an animation update. Cool. I think we all know that. And now they got rid of that meme by giving her an animation update. But now they implemented a new meme, which is, where's my schoolgirl Jalter outfit? The devs can never win. But to be fair, I can easily understand why it makes a whole lot of sense for them to actually say, hey, look, yeah, we could use that as a costume, right? Like, I don't think the players are wrong to demand these sorts of things. Where's my schoolgirl OG Marie outfit? Listen, I don't need any outfit for Marie other than the Red Riding Hood outfit, okay? That to me is the peak Marie outfit. So, it is what it is. I need both. Understandable. Now, I will say this, guys, please, if you're on Twitter, stop liking these dumb fucks that are spoiling. I don't mind seeing some stuff for, like, the servants posted, but, like, it wasn't 2 seconds on Twitter. Like literally, I think, like, the third tweet that I saw on my feed, where I just went like, and that's a story spoiler. Cool. Thanks. Right? Like, so y'all got to do better. I'm not singling out anyone in particular. I'm saying as a community, FGO has got to do so much better about not just immediately tweeting spoilers. Like, I literally saw one of the biggest Twitter accounts today trying to sit there and be like, did you guys know? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Either the people did know or you're spoiling them. It's that plain and simple. Either they read JP or they didn't. And if they didn't, there's probably a reason they didn't. No Twitter, no YouTube, no nothing. Yeah, I don't blame you, right? But buff? Yeah, definitely OG Janu needs a buff. Are you gonna roll? I got her in 10 multis. Am I gonna roll? Well, we'll talk about that. I don't know, right? Like, I'm still on the fence myself. I've seen the numbers, but we'll talk about it. See the art drop by redrop with the different school theme casts? I did, yeah. Don't you want another AoE Avenger CAD? I mean, I'm at least a little bit like, but I get it, right? Like, to me, Marie Alter probably should have been an Avenger, so I'm okay with it. And Avalon pointed out a little bit of an interesting tidbit that I'll probably talk about when we're going over her. If I did post a spoiler, oh no, if you guys post a spoiler, we'll probably just delete it. Like, most of the time, if someone does something like that, it's usually happenstance. But there's definitely some times where it's like, you'll actually just straight up see people just like posting something like straight out of the lines of like the translated text from the story, and I'm like, why? Right? Like, again, like I said, to me, if it's a release servant, I don't care. It's not really a spoiler at that point unless it has like a hidden name that they don't want you to know for story reasons. Everything else for a servant is probably fair game. Just maybe don't read into their bond lines or something like that. I don't know, right? Like, because I still remember when Morgan came out on JP, and we had a shit ton of people in the Discord trying to be like, can't we talk about her like significance in like, you know, normal Arthurian lore, or like talk about her bond lines? And I'm like, no, because both of those things are just straight up spoilers. And like, I don't know how people still to this day don't understand that about Morgan. She is one of the like easiest ones to spoiler for on LB6. So, but yeah, like again, if you just want to talk about their kit or their like design, that's perfectly fine. I have no qualms about that, or whatever their given name is. But the second I see people trying to like delve into the actual story, take it to the spoiler channel. That's all we ask, right? So please, just be kind to everybody else. I rolled for her, but I did when I wasn't looking at her fully. Won't do it on NA though. Nothing gameplay related. Oh, I'm not rolling for her for gameplay if I roll. that's 100% the truth there. I'm rolling for her because booba. And there need be no other reason. Rolling for the art? Yeah, the art for Marie is top tier. Like, it is definitely good. Who's the new servant? Basically Marie Alter. And then Shiny Hassan. I'm gonna call him that from now on. He is Shiny Hassan, chat. It's like in Pokemon if you got a shiny. No, y'all coming up with everything other than shiny. It's Shiny Hassan. That is the new nickname. I will accept nothing else. Korean boy band Hassan. Yeah. It's funny too because like when I immediately saw the design, I was like, that just looks like male 100 faces. Like straight up. Like I knew it was Hassan immediately. His name was too long, so I just used Shiny Hassan. Yep. I've loved her since Arlene. She was my first SR. Yeah, no, that's fine. And like we pretty much already know Banner 2 because it's in the files and there's some gameplay. That being said, I'm not talking about Banner number 2 until we get it. Okay. And please respect that. That's kind of all I ask on that, is that like, to me, that sort of thing is in spoiler territory. That sort of thing is in the realm of like, it is possible, I guess, that you don't get a release of one of the units or something like that. People have a tendency to look at data mines and immediately jump to conclusions, whereas I instead go like, well, if it's not released, it's not released, so I'm not going to talk about it. We had similar issues with like LB7 and stuff where people were trying to talk about how much they wanted a character from LB7, and if you know what I'm talking about, don't blurt it out, okay? Because again, it's a character that you would only know about if you have managed to read JP's story. So that's kind of why it's something where like I get upset with people because they walk into a stream or a Discord full of people and just blurt this stuff out. And now anyone that didn't know now knows. And then you're in a problem. So can we get a Jelter banner? You know, I'm sure they'll give you one in that regard. Like, even if it's not like right away, I'm sure there's going to be a Jelter banner. Don't worry about that. Like, and I'm going to say this for the simple reason of they gave her an animation update. They would be fools not to give her, you know, a banner because the hype is real and people will roll more for her. Already got recommended Ordeal call boss fights via some tubers I won't single out. It's a shame. Yeah, and I mean, chat, like, I'm not doing Ordeal Call 2 on JP until I'm done with the Ordeal Call 2 event. So, or sorry, not Ordeal Call 2. Until we're done with the CBC event, right? So like that's still going on for a couple more days. I still have some shop to clear, so until I'm done clearing that shop, I'm not starting Ordeal Call 2. Okay? I will let you guys know when we do it on stream so that people that want to avoid spoilers can do so. And usually how I operate is I'll probably on a day like that do like NA first, and then if people want to like dip or lurk or whatever, then they can do that for the Ordeal Call 2 portion. That being said, so that you guys are aware, especially for anyone that's new, whenever I do JP story, I go through it all, but I do not like watch any of the actual dialogue or cutscenes. I skip that because I can't read Japanese anyways. What the hell happened right there? And why do I not have enough charge? I don't know. I must have done something stupid. But or that's like somehow just a very, very weird low roll, which I doubt. You're not using the translation app? No, I don't use the translation app because the translation app sucks. I'm sorry, chat. I know people will swear by that thing, but I'm not a fan of somebody trying to third party, like, basically come in there and do that. And then also having the hubris to try and claim that they know more than the NA team about these things, and that, you know, trying to like get people in on that. I'm sorry. I just don't want to condone or support the person that does that. And at the end of the day, I am somebody that is just confident and fine waiting for there to be an NA translation. That's how I've always done it. It's how I'll always continue to do it. Scuffed gift sub, please. It's still a 3 turn. What do you mean? Nah, I scuff I gift is only for the lotto portion. Not to mention be machine translated anyways. Yeah, I see people try to make the claim of like, oh, but it's it's not hand translated. I know for a fact that it's all machine translated first. So it is what it is. Is my stamina up? I forgot. I don't know. I'm probably not going to start Ordeal Call till Caldea is done. Yeah, it's the same way with me. Like, I'm going to get the event done first. I actually, like, want them in their metrics to see that people completed the event and not that they rushed to do Ordeal Call 2. Because then I want them to note that, like, yes, that means that you should separate those two things. FGO account transferred from my old iPad to a new iPad with no problems. Nice. Does he make bread? I don't know. Do you know what rye means? Can only do that this fast with machine TL. Yeah, it's like I said. You guys know my stance on this. I'm not a fan of botting. I'm not a fan of third-party apping the game in any way, really. Like, the only things that I'm gonna say, like, hey, it's okay to use like a third-party app for, is like servant planners and stuff like that. Things that aren't even touching the game, right? So that's my stance on all of that. I'm just a play as the game was intended type of person. Rather than like, you know, again, you get people out there that try to like automate the game and stuff too. And I'm like, as far as I'm concerned, it's just cheating. Like, if the devs wanted you to have it, they'd have put it in. I think like the only thing that maybe I'm okay with in that regard as well is like automating your box opening to some degree. And it's usually just like, I don't mind if you use like a clicker or something like that. For a long period in time, that's widely been accepted. And I'm honestly going to say that like, nowadays it's not that bad due to the changes that they made to the lotto, but it used to be, chat, that remember like how you roll out your first 10 boxes is how you rolled out, like in my case, all 500 of my boxes. That shit was a multi-day affair. That shit would break your fucking fingers. It was just legitimately not worth. So that's where things like clickers to open boxes was became like community accepted, because to me that's one of those few ways or few areas that the devs are just being stupidly and willfully obstinate. And they always refuse to address that particular thing. Has it always been consistent where JP is at least 3 main story chapters ahead of NA due to a 2-year gap? No. No. Hasn't been that consistent. Often connected with Arthur and the Round Table. Oh, interesting. Interesting how both of those would work, right? I remember binding my Xbox controller to a shortcut to click boxes and it was easier. Yeah, like it to me, they have an official stance for stuff like automation, and their official stance is that no, like they don't want to do that sort of thing. They don't want to do anything that would basically trivialize the content or like kind of make it so that players didn't have to like pay attention and stuff like that. Uh they've never said anything about box opening, and I think they know, and that's 100% why they changed the amount opening with boxes that one QL. I think even they realize, like, God, this just sucks. No one should have to do this. But yeah, that's why, like I said, like even going all the way back to the origins of FGO, that shit was widely accepted as just being like, well, this is bad, and the devs don't seem to want to comment on it, so fuck it. I'm gonna be real with you, Zaruku. I don't even know what you're talking about. But this is also why I'm gonna say that, like, having the hubris to assume that you know better and did it better than the group that actually has access to the people and researched it is stupid to me. Like, I'm always gonna side on the official translation. Always. There are definitely points where I can like point to it and say they got it wrong, but I'm going to be real with you and I'm going to say that any amount of fan translation has equal, if not more problems with it. So it is what it is. Hayes, thank you for the 63. Like, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. There was a huge issue when LB6 first came out, where people had a blatant misconception over the origin of one of the characters. And we talked about it back then that basically a lot of people had Castoria and who she was completely wrong. Like, I don't want to get in too much to that because there may be some people in stream that still haven't done LB6, but that's kind of the problem with relying on machine translation or fan translation and just flying through it and taking everything at the drop of a hat rather than waiting for a full-blown official translation. We're going to finally see an official translation of Fate Route Shiro. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that. I, like, to a degree, I think it'll be interesting, but also I just really hope that they don't, like, change the tone too much of some things, because I've seen people before that say that like Shira is just like blatantly and like very like rudely sexist, and I'm like, Shiro has his moments of sexism, but I think they're also normally coming from like a good place and not like Shiro being an asshole. Like, basically people don't look at intent in the writing a lot of the times, and they just want to criticize stuff verbatim. Good luck making that point in the era we live in. Listen, this is going to sound weird, but like, have you ever considered that the vast multitudes of people on the internet are fucking stupid? It doesn't make the point less valid. It just means people are fucking stupid, right? Like, it is what it is. Nasu mentioned a lot of Shira thinking about Saber's gender is him reminding himself he did the gender bend, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen that if he did say it, but like, again, the way I've always assumed it to be in Shiro's mind is that he needs to protect Saber because Saber is a woman, because that's the only relationships that he's known to that point in time. And to him, and really in Japanese culture in general, the concept of a woman fighting and being part of like a battle to the death is like anathema to them. It's contrary to their cultural beliefs to a large degree. So that's like ingrained in him. And then you've got, you know, fucking like hoity-toity Westerners looking at that and being like, oh, Shiro is so sexist. And it's like, yeah, you don't really understand that. You don't understand his mentality. You don't understand why he would say something like that if you're able to criticize certain things. And I'm not going to say I'm an expert either. I just realized that I'm not an expert and I'm not stupid enough to make such claims. And that's usually the problem. Is some of these people go like, you know, they're the self-appointed expert on all of these things. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have a problem with anyone attempting to declare themselves that. I don't care who you are. Just saying people are crazy about stuff like this. Yeah. He's also a fictional character. Right. Yeah, it's the same thing as like people arguing that we should have chat. To me, this is the exact same thing in my mind, right? Different arguments, but largely the same because of like stupid, like self-assumed criticisms, right? So it's like, it's the same thing to me as when we got Rise of the Shield Hero and people were like, you need to believe the woman that is accusing him of rape. Even though you in fact know that she is evil, that she drugged him, and that it's a false accusation. You unironically had people trying to say that you should believe the woman. They're trying to apply real life bullshit to a fictional setting that they even knew wasn't true. So if it's at that point that you can sit there and look at that and still see people make such stupid arguments, then you know not to listen to people on other things, right? That was a thing. That was a thing. It's such a stupid thing. Can't you CS revive in Gigacoil? I don't believe you can. I think you can use single command seals, but I don't think you can triple seal revive. But maybe I'm wrong. Okay, let me go run over to NA, make sure my AP is spent down over here, and we'll start talking about the new units. Praxix, thank you for the follow. That mentality doesn't work in real life either. Yeah, I completely agree. I think when people say believe all women, the message gets like lost in translation, right? Because I think what a lot of it is people are trying to say like, hey, you need to like if a woman comes forward with an accusation, you need to take it seriously. I think that's true. I think you should. I think any accusation should be taken seriously, though, and I don't think it needs to be coming from a woman. Because this is sort of the problem that we see all the time is that, like, we don't apply things equally to men on the flip side, that there is a lot of preferential treatment in that regard. And I'm sick and tired of it at this point in time. Like, I have people that I know that have gone through, like, nasty divorces where the woman was totally at fault. And, like, basically the guy ended up with the short end of the stick. Right? So that's kind of the same thing that I look at over and over and over again and say, like, we as a society have got to do better about these sorts of things. But regardless of that, I'm just going to say, I think a lot of that problem is that people get, like, overzealous with it. And they're like, no, you have to believe everything she says. And it's like, no, you fucking don't. Like, you should take it seriously, but that doesn't mean that, like, you need to believe them. Like, it's one of those things where, okay, an accusation was made, it needs to be looked into, but not that, like, you have to necessarily believe them. Always coming down on one side or the other is inherently wrong. Like, no matter what the argument is, usually. There's always exceptions to any rule, and I feel like it's just being dogmatic, it's just being, like, close-minded if you say, like, oh, hey, I'm only going to believe this side of an argument, ever. Despite, you know, supporting evidence being completely contrary. Am I going to summon from Realtor? I still am not sure, so. I recently got into the game and your videos helped me a lot to get my targets for this year. Good. Glad to know they help. And again, hope you're having a good time with the lotto. Damn double standards. Yeah. Like, and to be fair, I think the reverse is true. It's not like there aren't double standards in favor of men as opposed to women, right? Like, I think it goes both ways. But, you know, again, if people want to live in the like whole like equal rights thing, then like, yes, that kind of has to go both ways at this point. Like, if you don't want preferential treatment in one way, then you can't demand it in another, right? For the longest time, at least in Hollywood, women's testimony of abuse were not taken seriously or even acknowledged. Yeah, and that's my whole point. Is like it should absolutely be acknowledged. It should absolutely be taken seriously. That being said, I'm also of this opinion. Okay, chat. Let's say there is an accusation thrown out against an actor in a film, and this has happened numerous times. So, like, I'm just talking generically, but like, let's say an accusation is thrown out against a male actor. Should that actor be fired? No? Right. And I agree with you. Right? Depends on the court ruling. Exactly. You're innocent until proven guilty, but the internet wants it to be the reverse. The internet wants it to be guilty until proven innocent. Like, that actor absolutely should not be fired. Absolutely should not. Not until his day in court happens. Okay? Because, again, there is nothing stopping the woman from, you know, a week after the guy gets fired, completely retracting her statement and being like, I made it all up. That dude still got slandered. He still got his name dragged through the mud. He still lost his job. Right? So, should you take the woman's accusation seriously? Yes. Should there be an investigation? Yes. Should there maybe be legal proceedings depending on that investigation? Absolutely. But you have to let the process work. And that's kind of my problem with all of this, is people are way too quick to shoot and then ask the questions. Isn't that what happened to Johnny Depp? Yeah, Johnny Depp happened, but his wasn't rape, right? His was like, I don't remember. I don't remember what the accusations were in that one. It's now loud as right? Yeah, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Domestic abuse? Yeah. Domestic abuse, and then you find out that she actually dropped a turd on his bed. And it's like, damn, Chad, if that's not domestic abuse, I don't know what is. If I walk into your house and take a shit on your bed, I think that's domestic abuse to a degree. I'm abusing your home. Physical abuse, yeah. So it's like, you know, obviously that's a travesty if he did it. But at least the circumstances in Johnny Depp's case, from everything I remember, are very, like, hearsay. And there doesn't appear to be much proof in Amber Heard's case. And at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where it's like, look, if the results are inconclusive, don't fire them. It's not going to stop, like the public from thinking that person's a shitbag. But to me, you shouldn't be double punished for a crime. Okay? And similarly, I'm going to say this. I also am someone that believes that if there is a fake accusation made, there should probably be a punishment. Okay? And I think the punishment should befit the punishment that happened to the accusee. So, if you falsely accuse someone and they lose their job, you should also lose your job. And you should probably have to pay them the lost wages. I think that's fair. So it's like, I cannot understand that. Like, I know that people have said, like, you shouldn't put penalties on the accusation. And like, I'm going to say this, like, I think if the accusation goes all the way through, goes to court, and like, it gets discovered that, like, it was inconclusive, then to me, it's a wash. It's a nobody wins, nobody loses, and we're still not quite sure. Okay, hold on, let me not pop that, because that'll send me into another node. Actually, someone in chat can do the calculation for me on how many boxes I have. But yeah, it's like, to me that should be a wash. But no, yeah, if you absolutely sell someone down the river, if they get like locked up in prison for years or something based off a false accusation, your turn. Okay? However long that person was in there, no you. Now you go in there. So if the person gets locked up for 15 years and then it comes out that you were lying, because I think that happened. I think I remembered hearing a story about that where like basically a lady visited the dude in prison, and or no, like I think he got out after 15 years, and she confessed to him that it was false, and she apologized to him. He recorded all of it and he got her. But so it's like, to me, yeah, no, she should absolutely go to prison. Absolutely at that point. Like, fuck that. General Legger, the 55. If they retract the statement, they should be punished. Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I kind of understand, right? I kind of understand where women can get confused and then go like, maybe things weren't what I thought they were, right? Because I think a lot of what can happen too is like you can get people in their ear telling them like, hey, you need to do these things, and then they do it, and then I think like the women regret it, and I think the women like on their own would not have gone through with it because maybe either they didn't feel it was the situation as presented, or they decided that like that wasn't actually the case. Or again, maybe they were just bitches and they were like falsely accusing for whatever reason. Okay. But I'm going to say this at the end of the day is like, I can understand how that happens. But to me, the reason that there should be some kind of retraction penalty, especially if you caused like slander basically towards a person or defamation, like at that point, if you hurt the other person by that accusation and you pull it back, yeah, there should be some kind of penalty. Because I think that would stop so many of the like on the fence accusations where the woman herself is confused and doesn't really know. Right? Like, I'm not sure. Then don't fucking do it. Like, holy shit. If you're not sure what happened to you and you're not sure that like there was a crime perpetuated against you at that point, that you were raped or something like that, then holy crap. No, you should not wreck someone else's life over a what if, right? That's how I view that. Is like basically a again, live and let live type of situation. This is my 8th time in FGO history I've done the Guild Lotto. Yeah, I mean, like I don't give a shit about the Guild Lotto, right? Like at this point. And chat, that 360 that you guys said that I'm at 370 because I've already opened 10 boxes then. So I only got 130 more boxes left to do. We still got like 8 days or whatever left in the lotto, 8 days and change. I'm getting this lotto done as fast as I can get it done. Like I don't care. I have my goal. I'm gonna hit my goal. I don't care like about really anything other than that. Just a rumor or something is enough to ruin your life. Doesn't need to go to court. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you lost your job, if there is a verifiable like harm towards you, okay? If you lost your job, if you were unable to pursue a new job due to the rumors, if basically you had some sort of financial hit because of these accusations, and the accusations are proved false and that they were made up, no, 100%. You should definitely suffer some kind of penalty for that. Yeah, we can claim the tickets after the event ends, right? I need those grails for grail casting in April. You can claim the tickets. What do you mean by claim the tickets? Are you talking about like the actual lotto currency? Yes, you can roll them out after the fact. But if you're talking about like some other ticket, then I'm not sure. Like the CBC costume tickets, you might want to use those. waiting for CE drops before I pop some apples. Don't wait too long, because that might never happen. Could that be argued under defamation? Yeah, probably. Right? And like that's all I'm saying is that we should not just like give people the benefit of the doubt that like, oh yeah, hey, yeah, I totally, I'm sorry, I was confused. It's like, no, if you were confused, you should not have like actually tried to ruin someone's life. Right? That's my only chant or my only statement of that. What am I talking about? Don't worry about it. I don't need to repeat it again. We've had a long enough conversation on that particularly demonetizing topic. I wish NA can catch up to the story. It's really so hard to avoid spoilers now. I'm just gonna say at the end of the day, it's 100% JP's and the people that play JP's fault. Period. Like if you use the translation app, it's probably your fault. Straight up. And I know you don't want to hear that, but it's true. Like, it's all these people on Twitter that are just straight up, like, doing dumb shit. It's all the people on YouTube that can't wait 2 fucking seconds and have to, like, make a gigantoid thumbnail or title that is spoilers. That's it. That's it. That's all it is. Like, people just have to do better. They have to not be assholes to each other. And it's going to take the community actually demanding it. I am sadly not enough of a voice in the community to actually push for that thing. And a lot of the times when I say stuff like this, I get pushback from people. But at the end of the day, it's like, chat, if you felt like FGO's community is dwindling over the years, please understand, if you don't want it to keep dwindling, you should maybe stop spoiling people. Because it's not helping. Nobody goes, oh, thank God I was spoiled. There is nobody that is happy to get spoiled. So I don't know why people are so gung-ho about doing it. I'd still do it anyways. Look, if you want to do it, that's fine. But if you're going to spoil, that's not fine. And I will literally ban anyone in my chat caught spoiling. Like, I understand slip-ups happen, but I have legitimately had people just waltz right in and blurt something out. I'm just like, that's... deal with it. And then they, all the time, they try to cry foul. It's happened. It won't be done again. Yep. Delta animation update, is that a spoiler? No. Like I said, if it's just like, if it's the way a character looks or like their kit, I don't consider that to be really spoilers unless they're unreleased. If they're unreleased, I ask you guys not to talk about them, but that's really it. Chat, I want to be clear. If you have taken my comments about spoilers and are now trying to voice your opinion as to why you don't care, please understand you might be part of the problem. And I'm not saying this to like insult you, but like the laissez-faire attitude of like, I don't care, it doesn't impact me, is exactly why people just get sick and tired of it. And they refuse to go to social media because some people don't care. And it's usually the people that don't care that are sitting there upvoting, retweeting, liking, and sharing the spoilers around. I'm not sure how I can be any clearer on this. Like, at least you have to respect the people that don't want the spoilers. I don't care if you don't care, but you at least need to care that other people do care. Give me 2 seconds here, chat. I'm getting set up. A lot of caring. Well, you know what they say. Sharing is caring. So therefore, by the transitive property, caring is sharing. And I'm not saying any one of you is individually doing this. I'm just saying you have to be careful about this sort of thing. I mean, you can try Rain and see what happens. Okay. How to use AP effectively if you're low on apples for Tesla. I just recommend like doing max bonus and stuff. You could wait for the later nodes, but they're actually not that much more efficient. Like you can see in our guide that the stuff is pretty samey across the board. It does go up though in efficiency, just not by much. And yes, Avalon, I'm aware. Let me real quick. I need to like look through these to make sure that fandom didn't like screw the pooch. Yeah. I never bother going through the note on insta-kill on fandom because I think fandom explains it weird and it just makes it confusing to people. Because people begin to think that they can always instant kill shit. And it's like, if people want to know more about instant kill, I recommend checking out my video about instant kill, about like death chance and stuff like that. Because like, it does a deep dive on it and it explains it in detail. But like, going through a servant analysis and just trying to explain that to people, people aren't going to get it. There's too many caveats to it. It's pretty easy to calc. Oh yeah, it's easy to calc. It's just like explaining the nuance of it is why like I usually don't cover that portion on screen. Or on stream rather, sorry. Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry, I just had to once over one more thing there. Okay. Yeah, let's get ready to rumble. A buff to John and Jolter right now, what would it be? I'd give OG Janu a second NP interlude, and I'd drastically increase the amount of scaling of her defense up for the party. Jolter, if I could give an upgrade, I'm not really of the opinion that she necessarily needs one. I mean, charge is an easy one. That would be like welcome for her. Even if it were something only like 20%, I think that would make a huge difference for her. But that might be a little bit overkill. It just depends. More crit damage? Yeah. I mean, like, her crit damage is actually not that insane nowadays, but back in the day it used to be. It's still very good though. So it's like, could you scale it up? Sure, if you wanted to. But I don't think they need to necessarily. Give her Salter's burst skill. That would be an interesting one at least, right? Like, I'm not gonna say that like lore wise she really has the basis to have it, but like I think you kind of do it how you did it with John Alter Berserker, and you could give her like the 20% charge on her like Buster Up, so that like you don't have it too often, and it is tethered to her steroids, so that it's somewhat limiting in its use. The other change that I can think of, but this may increase her damage, so I'm not sure that they want to do it, but that would be to actually make her the second portion of her charisma actually affect her. Ignore invuln would be interesting to me, but yes. Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand why they don't necessarily want to give her that either. But it's not like that's a hard thing to do. Yeah, actually, speaking of, I should probably do CE recommendations. Uh, don't we have a curse mod CE now, chat? I feel like we do. Um, ADM? What? But like, wait, JDM? What do you mean JDM? Decked him away. Oh, from the Wangina event? Okay, not bad. I'm just gonna keep the list simple. I don't need to go through every eventuality. The only reason I did the event. Yeah, the one Gene event, I obviously can't speak to the story, but it was a very straightforward event. They must have been going through some kind of crazy shit back then. Maybe that was when they were developing Ordeal Call 2. I don't know. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today we're going to be talking to you about our newest AoE Arts Avenger, Marie Antoinette Alter, aka Marie Alter. So Marie Alter is a unit that people have been waiting on for a long time in FGO. Ever since she first debuted in the board game Apocalypse event, people have just really, really wanted her. Unfortunately, we didn't get her for a long time, though it does appear like she's at least been in the works for quite a while. As due to her actual servant ID, we know that they started working on her basically before Summer Eris. So she's at least been something that they've planned for a while. Whether or not that was prompted by Eris getting a second version, I don't know, because she does come from the same event, but it is an intriguing possibility nonetheless. Still, Marie Alter is going to be a story locked servant, so you're going to have a hard time getting your hands on her. That being said, obviously this would be the time to roll as of her release here on JP with Ordeal Call 2. Certainly she'll have other banners into the future, but who knows when that will be, as again, we have seen JP getting a little bit stingy with certain particular units that they know are popular. I'm not going to say that Marie Alter is going to be any sort of game-breaking unit, though, So that definitely works in her favor, as the devs have a tendency to try and like clutch their pearls a little bit with some of the more overpowered units. So in that regard, that makes it sound like Marie is not that good. But the reality is Marie actually has a very well-rounded kit. And no, I'm not just talking about her amazing artwork. But I am going to say she's not going to have the most robust damage numbers if that's all you're concerned with. So let's go ahead and dive right in and talk about what makes Marie Alter special. So again, as you guys can see here, she basically is going to start out with 12.7k attack. She is an AoE Arts Avenger. Avengers, we know, par for the course, they're just going to always have a pretty good attack stat. And this is no exception to the rule. Unfortunately, the trade-off for this is always a rather anemic HP stat for a 5-star, and we can see that is in full force with Marie, because again, this is not a good HP stat for her to have. She is Earth attributed. She does have 30 star absorption. Again, not very high, but hey, she is an Avenger, so it's to be expected. Star generation's not particularly great either, but I believe it is higher than the average, because I think it's only 5% for our Avengers. And again, you can see she has 0.4 NP charge attack rate, which this is going to be considered to be low by a lot of people. But remember, whenever it comes to talking about a unit, I always tell you guys, don't judge the book by its cover. Don't look just at the stats. That is never just the sole singular indicator of whether or not a unit will loop well. And I think you'll see Marie actually does loop quite proficiently, so this isn't that big of a concern. She does have 5% NP charge defense. This is very nice. Again, we kind of expect this with our Avengers, but obviously this is going to be the amount of charge she gets per hit, per attack of anything that hits her. And then a 7% death rate is at least thankfully low, so this is going to actually help her out in a challenge environment, which I do actually believe will be her real wheelhouse as we start to look at potential uses for her. Her alignment is going to be chaotic evil. She is female gendered, and she basically has only a few traits to actually be exploited here: hominide, humanoid, servant, and weak to anima elish. Her deck here is at least somewhat odd, as they mixed in the second quick card there. That's probably to just kind of keep her ability to generate NP a little bit more under control. Again, that in pairing with the low NP charge attack stat there is probably a big factor. So they did give her the 2 quick cards. Thankfully, the hit counts for them are good at 4, so it's going to be at least 1 above average. Does have the 4 hit arts cards there, though, too, which is probably the bigger factor for why that NP charge attack is low. So again, definitely nice hit counts on our NP generating cards. And we do have a singular buster with also 4 hits, so all of her hit counts are above average, with only the extra attack coming in at average at 5 hits. So again, all of her card performance here should actually be fairly good. Her first skill here ends up having the ability to charge her own gauge by just a standard 30%, and then basically charge her gauge every single turn for 3 turns of up to 20%. Now remember, with per turn based charge skills, we definitely have a tendency to try and think about things in a 3 turn, and the problem with that is that while you're in that 3rd turn, you're not going to get it until after the end of the 3rd turn, so therefore you really only get 2 turns of effectiveness out of this if you're only thinking about a 3 turn for farming purposes. But the second you start going longer than that, yes, you would actually be able to realize all 60% of the charge potentially there, as it is a really, really nice amount. This is going to grant herself also a buff on defense for basically any time she gets hit for 5 times over 3 turns. She will charge her NP gauge by 10%. So you're actually going to want enemies to focus on Marie. This is actually going to be a nice thing if you maybe have Taunt somewhere in the party or via ACE to maybe put it on her and allow her to soak some of the damage. She's actually going to be somewhat tanky in that regard, so it's good for her. And then also she's just going to get the extra benefit of even more NP charge to help her out with her looping. Again, all of that's on a 6-turn cooldown. Her second skill here is going to inflict curse for 3 turns to all the enemies that you're facing. So definitely not something that you're going to care too much about if you're just farming, but certainly something against a set of enemies that you plan to be NPing against multiple times. This is actually going to stack for quite a bit of damage. So again, 3 turns to all enemies that you're facing. Increase own damage against the enemies as well with a curse status for 3 turns, a a inflict curse status, basically. So essentially, the curse is going to deal at rank 10 5,000 damage, and that's really, really going to be nice. And then on top of that, you're going to basically then get the power mod against anything that is cursed. So taking anything that can provide curse to the target, basically taking anything that can enhance damage to cursed targets are all going to help out Marie. Again, anything that you can do in that regard, so stuff like command codes, craft essences, you name it, all going to be something that you'll want to do. On top of that, she also increases her own arts performance for 3 turns by 30%. So again, another little bit of an extra, not only extra damage, but also extra refund there. So you can see maybe why they kept the NP gain stat so low with her. Her third skill here grants herself invincibility for 3 attacks, 3 turns, a la her normal form. Marie Ryder is infamous for being just tanky and able to like survive a long time. Having a 3 attack, 3 turn invuln is definitely nice. You have to be careful with anything that can buff strip, anything that can invuln pierce, but obviously this is just a more upgraded version of protection from arrows, so really, really solid. It's also, though, going to have the crazy benefit of granting the entire party guts status, except her stealth, for 1 time 3 turns. So this is not only going to help her and keep her alive, but it's also going to help keep her supports alive and everybody that's around her. Definitely a nice skill to have, and it's also going to recover the party's HP by up to 3,000. So we're not wild about the pairing of a guts skill where you kind of want to go down and then pop back up with a heal. I've said this before because it can kind of actually screw up your timing on guts, but still, it's better to have it than not. And again, this may just at least help delay that inevitable guts pop until the last minute, sort of earning you some extra additional cooldown on the skill. So it really just depends. It's all on you to manage it properly. But still, that is definitely going to be really nice and really a party-oriented survival skill, so I really like to see it. This is the only one that's got a longer cooldown at 7 turns, but again, it's a party-wide gut skill, so it kind of makes a whole lot of sense. She does end up having Avenger C+ to increase her own NP generation rate whenever she takes an attack. This is a standard Avenger passive. But then she's also going to reduce the party's debuff resistance by 7%. Just be careful about that. And again, you can see that with the stable of Avenger passes, we do get Oblivion Correction here of a C rank. Gets her an additional 6% crit damage. And then Self-Replenishment Magic, a B+ variant there for 3.6% every turn. This will round up for you, but just be careful because, again, you're obviously don't want to be cutting it so close on refund that you have to rely on this. But hey, it is there should you need to. So again, self-replenishment can actually be a really, really nice thing for a lot of Avengers. Talking about Marie's appends, she does have the third append that is anti-Rider. This is not anything particular that she is good against. She has the Cursed Power mod in her kit. She is Arch. She is an Avenger. That's it. There's nothing here that really screams, hey, good synergy with anti-Rider. So to me, this third append is probably her weakest append. But certainly if you have the spare coins, you can go for it. I highly recommend the mana loading, obviously, for, obvious reasons. In most cases, people really benefit from mana loading. It just helps them get to that first NP faster. It can open up new strategies for them and work with different craft essences. So, again, I still will almost always recommend mana loading unless we are dealing specifically with a challenge unit. In this case, that would be something to consider with her is, would you prefer having extra attack finesse on her, which enhances not only the damage output of the extra attack, but also the NP gain, the star generation. So again, there is some really, really nice benefit to having extra finesse, but it really just depends on whether or not you see yourself doing solos with her. I'm not going to say that she can't. She probably could due to that third skill. But again, at the end of the day, it's just up to you to decide what you desire more. I'd recommend the mana loading and then the extra attack, but if you feel like it, go with the extra attack and then the mana loading. Now, we get to the Noble Phantasm, and you can see she has a 4-hit AoE Arts Noble Phantasm. Now, again, she does have the low NP gain rate. She's got that 30% Arts up in her kit. She's got self-charge. She's got charge per turn. So I don't think this is really any concern. It is only 4 hits, but we do also have people out there like Space Ishtar that refund perfectly fine while having only 3 hits. So at the end of the day, I'm going to say this is actually okay for her. She will inflict a curse for 1,000 damage for 5 turns to all enemies that activates before her NP. So that is now 6,000 curse damage, basically being applied by both her NP and her skills right there. And then she will inflict the evil curse status for 5 turns that basically doubles the amount of damage done by curses. So again, that 6,000 damage is now 12,000 damage per tick. And you start thinking about the possibility of looping Marie, you're stacking those extra 1,000 damage ticks. You're also stacking additional evil curse status. You're going to get a lot of curse damage at play here. That's actually going to be one of the things to her benefit, and why I think, again, she kind of lends herself a little bit more to a challenge sort of mentality. As you can see, she has the survivability. She can tend to the party. She also has that charge per turn to kind of keep her going over time. And then you start stacking curse damage, and you're just going to be doing a ton of like passive effects. So it's really, really good, even though for, short durations, it's not going to be the best. So here you could also see then she will deal damage to them. That's when her damage rolls out. Then she's also just going to automatically drain everybody that she's hitting by 1 tick of their gauge. So also really nice. You have an arts looping AoE drainer. That could actually be really nice for servant gauntlets or any sort of annoying challenge where the enemy it has a ton of charge effects going on, or you have a ton of bars to manage. This is really going to help keep things under control and maybe delay the inevitable, or at least give you time to get one of your supports and Ps up to protect the party. From there, she'll also have a 60% chance to instant kill them. Just please understand, this is a nice thing to have, but obviously it's not necessarily going to come into play against servants. It's very hard to death proc an actual servant. If you are using her in a challenge environment, not the best, but the good thing that we can say is this death proc occurs after damage, so that's really, really nice, as it won't impact her refund. That is to say, she'll still get the hits against the enemy, she'll still generate Noble Phantasm gauge, and then potentially death things. So very, very good design in that regard. Now, she does have a nice overcharge effect as well. It is not multi-turn, unfortunately, but it is still a 20% NP damage up that activates first. So if you are using Oberon with her, this will be of his benefit, as he will get the extra scaling thanks to it being an NP damage buff. So really a nice holistic kit for Marie. But let's go ahead and talk about, CEs that you would want to use. And in that process, let's talk a little bit about refund. So Marie is a Black Grail looper, and I think you'll actually see, based off of her later stages with her art design, that the Black Grail aesthetic actually works really well for her. So as far as sort of synergy goes, this is a very good CE, both gameplay-wise for her and aesthetic-wise for her. Again, Black Grail is sort of the end-all, be-all of damage craft essences. It's the big thing that we try to make sure loopers can loop with nowadays. It just helps them deal a ton of damage, which when we're talking about content like 90 plus and 90 plus plus content, we start really getting concerned with the damage output of units. I don't really think Marie Alter is going to be that great for 90 plus plus content, at least not if you're trying to min turn it. Not if you're trying to, 2-turn or 3-turn the node, depending on what the makeup is. I think Marie's not going to be your best option for that. What I can say is Marie probably won't fail the node. You will still win out eventually. So at the end of the day, I'm not super concerned with the amount of damage that Marie ends up doing. We'll show you those damage numbers in a minute. But I am going to say, if you want to help her damage out as best as possible, Black Grail is going to be the answer. Now, maybe you're up against an odd node structure, maybe you just need to get going a little bit faster, or maybe it's just some other type of constraint. If you maybe need an additional starting charge output here, Ocean Flyer is obviously going to be a good option for you. It is a welfare CE from all the way back during summer. I believe it was summer 5 or summer 6. Summer 6. And basically, it's going to be awesome for her just because it's arts up and NP damage. It may not be the best welfare CE for her, though, as we did have the Wangina event on JP last year, and that one actually gave the method to walk on the stars. This is an all-attack scaling CE, and it will further improve the power mod done to curse enemies for her. So this will stack additively with the power mod that she already has in her kit. So definitely a nice thing that will be synergistic with her. It is a 50% starting charge CE, which is unfortunate because that did limit the damage somewhat compared to something like Honey Lake. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is a very, very nice one to consider for her, especially if you're trying to really hinge on that curse damage. Now, that being said, having mentioned Honey Lake is sort of our gold standard at this point for invuln pure CEs. If you do need something like this because you're in a challenge fight, Honey Lake's going to be one of the best ones you can have. Maybe slap a burn command code on her, and then you'll have both burn and curse damage flying out, and you will get the power mods for both. As again, you can see there is a ton of extra damage here that impacts not only the NP, but also carding. That is the benefit of having a power mod, is it's going to impact everything that you do in terms of damage, rather than something that is super effective, which will only affect the NP. So again, a really, really nice thing for her to put on. If you don't have something like Honey Lake, there are plenty of other invuln pure CEs out there that should be available to you. Just again, pick one that you think will fit with her, but obviously anything that is arts up, NP damage up, maybe even NP gain or something like that can all work on Marie. So at the end of the day, I think Marie at least has a really good set of options for CEs. Those aren't the only options that you have to use. You definitely use anything else, but usually you're going to want stuff that actually enhances her damage. Because refund number wise, as long as you're using something like double Castoria against neutral targets, which is probably what we'll be facing the majority of the time with Marie, you're looking at, against say 3 enemies, something like 83% refund with just a singular hit of overkill against 3 enemies. That's really good. That's not a full refund, but it is enough to make sure that you would easily be able to 3-turn no matter what starting charge CE that you're using. Now, again, 3 hits of overkill means that against 3 enemies that you did at least 1 hit to each of them that killed them. That is to say, you killed the enemies. Otherwise, you will have no hit of overkill because you didn't finish them off. So it's sort of the bare assumption for assuming you actually moved through the wave and got the clear. That's going to be 3 hits of overkill against 3 enemies. It'd be 2 against 2 enemies or 1 against 1 enemy. But again, at that point, you're at 83%. If you wanted to reach the 100% real breakpoint there, you're looking at something like 10 or 11 hits. Not going to be great for you. I don't recommend it because that's out of a 12 possible hit counts. Remember, she has a 4-hit NP, so up against 3 enemies, that's 12 possible hits. Trying to get 11 out of 12 hits in order to full refund, it's probably just not worth it. Just, kind of build assuming that. Again, if you wanted to maybe take some starting charge or you had a tertiary, a 3rd support to bring in, charge should be easy for her to work, and she should be able to easily 3-turn even from 0% as her starting point. Against Berserkers, these things get a little bit rougher, but we can see even if you do no hit of overkill, you would still get at least 50% against triple Berserkers. And basically with at least against 2 Berserkers. And at least if you manage to kill the Berserkers and maybe get an additional hit of overkill, you'd be all the way up already at like 55%. So I think even against something like Berserkers, her refund will still be pretty adequate, and that is assuming not the best lineup. That's assuming only 2 Berserkers instead of 3. Not really a good class to refund against either, and she's still doing like 50% refund against that. So definitely a decent thing to show a basically worst possible scenario that she'd be able to refund in. Now, if we're talking her actual damage numbers, here are her raw numbers, self buffs only. You can see she does have, obviously, some scaling with the power mob, but it's not going to be nearly as good as something like a super effective modifier on her NP would have been. I think they purposely held Marie's damage back because they didn't want it to be too crazy, and you'll see that when we get to the actual numbers here. Because again, these are just her own self buffs, no supports, nothing like that. So basically, we have a couple of scenarios that we can talk about, and each one of these is going to be neutral damage because, again, we're dealing with an extra class, so it kind of just makes sense to have. So on screen now, you can see scenario number 1. This is going to be Marie Alter with 2 times Castoria, Oberon, and a level 100 Black Grail with a maxed out Neo Plug suit. Sort of idyllic conditions for her. Again, though, assuming neutral. And you can see basically just sort of naked with no additional buff there. Her damage would be somewhat suspect. But remember, she does curse with her NP before damage. So as long as you have that second skill active, you're going to have the power mod. It's only going to be not there when that skill is on cooldown. So as a result, we can pretty easily just look to these numbers instead and say these are going to be more or less her actual numbers. You can see they do scale quite nicely as well as you start getting to NP2. But that is kind of what it's going to take, is something like a higher NP level of Marie to equal some of our other AoE arts Avengers. And I'll talk about their damage in comparison in a minute. But again, this is going to instead be utilizing Castoria Bride and Oberon with a level 100 Black Grail. And you can see the damage numbers are a little bit like less, but not, terrible. They're still usable. And remember, neutral numbers still. So not anything that would be considered effective. And then we have our damage scenario number 3, and this is going to end up being just 2 times Castoria with a Mage's MC. I actually talked with Avalon about this. I don't really see most people using this, but there may be some odd scenario in a challenge environment where you go, really want that card shuffle, I really want that extra heal, and that might be kind of what you're after, in addition to getting that 20% charge to kick things off. But again, you can see the damage numbers here get a lot more anemic, as you're not getting any sort of boost from the Mystic Code itself in terms of damage. So I actually did ask Avalon to run me a 4th scenario here, and that was instead basically something like Fragment of 2004. And you might be asking yourself, why would you run these? And the whole point to it would be just trying to run Marie Alter with double Castoria. So no plug suit, no third support, just double Castoria. And that's where this would work for her, and you would actually be able to get some decent damage out of it. It'd be better than the mages, but it still wouldn't be nearly as good as trying to use a third support with Black Grail and stuff like that. So and again, that's sort of the synergy and power of Black Grail with something like Oberon. Now let's talk about comparisons to some of our other units, though. So I'm going to actually get rid of these last 2 because to me they're not necessarily the best comparison. I will show the Bride, I will show the double Castoria Oberon, and I'm going to say this is probably going to be the easier one to compare to for most of them. So comparing to someone like Space Ishtar, then we actually have basically 2 times Castoria Oberon, a level 100 Black Grail with Neo Plug Suit. And you can see we do factor in basically NP1, but then also NP1 if she gets the arts proc for her 3rd skill, for her charge skill, because that is an 80% chance. Odds are you should have it, but, well, 1 in every 5 times you don't. So basically, you can see already just flat out, you've got quite a bit of extra damage over Marie. Maybe looking at instead the anti-curse here, or maybe even NP2 anti-curse to look at least more comparably towards her with the arts up. Without the arts up, definitely not as good for her, but this is why I'm saying, again, I don't think Marie is necessarily built for damage, just like her Rider counterpart is. I think she's built a little bit more for challenge, for survivability, and for sustain, for being able to keep doing it over and over and over again. I think that's to her benefit, and I think that should be apparent from having gone over her kit. Same thing with Summer Kama. You can see, as long as we got the charm, damage is solid. It's going to be way over Marie's numbers there. But obviously, without the charm, all of a sudden, let's say maybe the enemy resists it, or you just forgot it, or you just messed it up somehow. Without the charm, damage numbers are actually pretty comparable to Marie at that point. With the charm, not comparable at all. She'll just flat out win. She'll even beat Ishtar, assuming, certain things are in place. And then we also end up with Nido Alter. And you can see Nido Alter NP1 with no niche in play. Actually pretty comparable at that point to Marie. But then if you actually have the anti-man that she has, boom, there you go. It jumps up as well to 415. So this is just really, really spicy for her to be able to push these numbers. But that's Nido Alter. Nido Alter also has sort of that focus on death procking and as well as like protecting the party somewhat. So to me, Nido Alter is actually one of the closer comparisons to someone like Marie. But the problem that the problem that Nido Alter is going to have is, again, the sustain, being able to do this outside of the 3-turn, kind of keeping going and keeping doing it. It's not that you can't, it's just that there's definitely going to be a lot of downtime there, and it's probably going to hurt. Whereas with Marie, you're kind of just going to be fluid, you're just going to keep going, and it's just going to kind of be this thing. So to me, that's where I really see Marie's ultimate usefulness is going to be a challenge unit. Obviously, she could still be used in farming. Her damage is not atrocious, but it is not to the same heights that units like Space Ishtar are, or Summer Kama. And again, I think we see even as we start approaching 90 plus plus content that we don't often see a lot of Space Ishtar or Summer Kama usage in those anymore because it's hard to make some of the neutral units work to such insane damage degrees. It's not that you can't, it's usually just that it requires a much, much, much more robust version of the unit, something like NP5 with Grails and stuff like that. So to me, if even those aren't getting used as much, then I don't really see Marie getting used as much either, unless the whole goal is to just kind of win by attrition and, you know, maybe you don't 3 turn, maybe you like 5, 6 turn or something like that, and you actually just kind of win out easily without having to try too hard. But either way, I'm going to say Marie Alter still, I think, has a use, especially as that challenge unit, especially as an AoE drainer, and somebody that can really just start ramping and stacking that curse damage. I think that'll actually be one of the more fun aspects to her, and I'll be curious to see what people can do. Let me know what you guys think about Marie Alter. How excited are you guys for Ordeal Call 2? And do you like her design and which Ascension is best? I will see you guys for the next one. Thank you all for watching and have a good one. Okay. There we go, chat. That one dragged on a lot, but I don't know. I wanted to talk. She got buffed? Yes, yes. She did get a nice upgrade. At least they didn't flub up with her curse like they did with Melee. Yeah, I mean, like, I think they could have made her damage better than it is, but I also understand that they didn't just want to give a unit a shit ton of survivability and then also give that unit the top damage. Because it's like, the problem with that you'll have with someone like Nito Ultra is Nito Ultra does not loop well. Like she can do it by brute force, but she is not known as a good refunder. So I think as you start looking at Marie, you realize like, she's just really nice. She's really fluid, right? It's just gonna kind of keep going. Oh, I did mean to ask, by the way, Avalon, I forgot. Did the numbers you gave me for refund include her 20%? I assume it did. It included it? Okay. I wanted to be sure. Letterbox number 210. Nice. A good rate so far? Oh, you're doing fantastic. If you're at 210, but you only have plus 11, you should probably be a max bonus already by then, but don't worry about it too much. It happens. Like, I have legitimately had a lotto where I got to 450 boxes and was not at max bonus. So, trust me, it can get bad. I'm having a rough month, so boxes are low. I'm having a rough month as well, but somehow I'm managing. Oh. Roll time? No, we gotta go over we gotta go over Shiny Hassan. Shiny Hassan chat. There you go. I know what y'all are thinking as you look at this. Y'all are probably like, oh, feet. uh, got friends visiting for this weekend. Nice. Marie Alter equals Marie of the shiny shoes. Listen, I really like Marie Alter's design, regardless. Don't be weird, Cat. I'm not being weird. You're being weird. I don't like feet. Sorry, chat. My microphone is loose if you keep seeing me messing with it. Adolfo, thank you for the 18. Great analysis, no problem. Okay, so with that, now I have to look over Shiny Hassan's bullcrap here. Give me 2 seconds. I can probably leave half of these Cs up. SMH noise. Did we really only have one charge scenario for him? God, that statement made me throw up in my mouth. Just be glad that I didn't read half of chat statements. Also, if you can somebody look into this for me and see like what constitutes darkness? Like is this pitch black dark, or is this like nighttime? That's the only thing I'm unsure of on this so far. It's kind of hard. I know. You would have to actually like know a node that has something like that, and then like go look at it in Atlas. So the big ones that I'm thinking of are like Halloween nodes, because there's usually like a nighttime node in them, where you're like in a graveyard or you're out front of the castle or something like that. So check one of them if you can, and see like if they've added the darkness trait to the field. Because that's my suspect. I was talking with Avalon about this earlier. Is that like I don't think this is darkness. I bet this translates more as night. I just don't know. That one LB7 node with the one character as a node. You would have to be more specific, and please don't if it's spoiler, right? Like. But this is more a question to Avalon or anyone that knows their way around Atlas. It's like I can go look this up myself, but it's going to take me some time to do that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. They did get this right. Yep. Field individuality. This is everything with darkness. So it is retroactive then. So it must be night? Question mark? Yeah. London night. I just want to know, are any of these not at night? Are any of these legitimately a dark place, but it's not nighttime? Like Fiyuki, I'm gonna give Fiyuki a pass on that one, because who knows what time of day that shit is. Okay. Yeah, so these are legit dark as well. Because this is all in the underworld, which there's no time of day in the underworld, really. So it is dual meaning. It is both dark and night. It is like anything that is dark, period, which can mean any type of darkness, which is at least interesting. And that actually has a lot more than I thought it would. Like just looking through it, right? Hmm. That's going to take some getting used to. It's really funny too, because there's definitely nodes that are not sunlight, and there's definitely nodes that are not darkness. So then, like, what the hell are they if they're neither? And I suspect that's where you'll get like city nodes and stuff like that, where you're like inside a building or something. But farming doesn't seem to be that important. Yeah, it's just a curiosity, right? I'll actually leave that tab open. It'll be interesting. I do not remember a dark farming node at least. I think there's some night nodes in Shimosa. There are definitely some in Shinjuku and oh, and Agartha. Yeah, there's literally night nodes in every single epic of Remnant. No self-charge, so less flexible. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is there any 50% or better that can split their charge? Okay. And they have the anti-assassin one, which is definitely weird. I actually think the damage here is actually pretty surprising. Wait, actually, Avalon. So you gave me the breakdown, but you didn't give me the breakdown with darkness. Is it below? Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay, I'll have to remember that. Okay. So let's talk about Shiny Hassan. I just added the darkness doll numbers, yeah. Okay. Oh. Insert Konosuba darkness reference, yes. La Latina. Actually, he's perm, isn't he? He's not story locked. Intriguing. Okay. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today we're going to be talking to you about That happens every once in a while. I get tongue-tied. Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today we're going to be talking to you about Hassan of the Shining Star, aka Shiny Hassan. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. So, Shiny Hassan, as I like to call him, is going to end up being a permanent addition to the roster. He's going to be paired alongside Marie Alter with the release of Ordeal Call 2. And he is an interesting unit, to say the least. He is an AoE arts assassin. He's a 4-star, and he is weird. Definitely one of the considerations, the first thing that's going to be on everyone's mind is how does he stack up against some of our other AoE assassins, particularly the Summer Valks, as they are welfare. And so there's going to be an immediate comparison. So we're going to go through this, and we're going to let you see where he's maybe better and where he's maybe not. And again, I'll let you guys decide in the end. So just going ahead and talking about his kit here right at the beginning, we can see for his stats, he starts out with 9k attack. This is not a stellar number. It is not a bad number, though. I always look at 4 stars and I say, okay, I like to see them in that 9 to 10k range. It's usually really good for them. But remember, assassins, obviously, they're not going to be the strongest attackers. So this is teetering on the edge of what I would consider to be good. It's certainly not the best, but it's not bad either. And so as a result, I'm going to say this is perfectly fine for him. He's got 11k HP, so again, a little bit, not necessarily the most robust, but certainly not bad either. His mana attribute, which is rather ironic given his kit, but obviously it makes kind of sense. As you can see, he has 102 star absorption, so definitely nothing bad here. And he actually has higher than the class average star generation. Again, assassins just naturally have crazy good star generation. They actually have, I think, 5% more than any other class in the game, and really 10% more than any other class in the game prior to pretenders. So in this regard, star generation being higher than the class average, definitely good for him. And you're going to see that is actually one of the focuses of his kit. He only has a 0.27 NP charge attack rate, though, and that is not the best. But again, we're going to talk about that. It's actually not as concerning as you would think, but there is something that we definitely need to talk about with that. So looking at now his NP charge defense, he's got 4%. This is going to be the amount he receives per attack per hit. So again, anything that hits him is basically going to deal at least the 4% extra charge for him. He's got a 44% death rate. It's definitely really high, but I mean, as long as you're not taking him against something that's, really death happy, you should be good. And as an assassin, it's usually the assassins themselves that are death happy, so you're probably okay in this regard. And you can see his alignment is actually lawful evil. He is male gendered, a hominidae servant, humanoid, an actual servant, 7 Knights servant, and then weak to enemy elish. So again, they've kind of toned down a lot of the traits as we're seeing here. Not, everybody having a huge paragraph of things that you can exploit against them. You can see as well, his deck is rather weird. If you remember what I said at the very beginning, he is an AoE arts assassin, so rather odd that he actually has the triple quick deck. That being said, I think the devs looked at this and they said, like, wow, yeah, there's just not a lot of units in the game that have triple quick deck, and if there is any class that has the majority of them, it's assassin. So I think that's kind of what they tried to do, is they tried to make him just like a typical assassin. They gave him that triple quick deck, but it's definitely an oddity in an arts-based kit. But you will see they do things to actually help that out. So again, right off the rip here, we can see that he's got 6 hits on those quick cards, which is just insanely good. We already know that he had the higher than normal star generation, so he is going to be a star generating fiend in that regard. He does have the 4-hit arts cards, so even though he only has 1, it's still good hit counts, and only a 2-hit buster, which is below average. But again, if there's any card where we don't really care too much about the hit counts, it's probably buster. So at the end of the day here, he does at least have a normal extra attack, but obviously we're going to have to talk quite a bit more about this triple quick deck. Right off the bat here, you can see with his first skill, he ends up with quick and arts performance boost for 3 turns of up to 30% each. It's actually really nice because this is going to end up covering 40%, sorry, not 40%, 80% of that deck. So basically 4 out of his 5 cards are going to be getting a 30% boost. Probably not going to want to use the buster card unless you're leading with it or doing a mighty chain, but obviously at the end of the day, this is still going to be really, really nice for him to have. As it's not only going to help in P generation, but also star generation and damage. And so, again, just a really, really solid steroid here for multi-turns. He does have a 20% increase to his own attack whenever he's on a darkness battlefield for 3 turns. And that is actually a new battlefield being added into the game retroactively with Shiny Hassan. That is to say, there has never been a darkness battlefield prior to this point, and now we have it added in where any node that basically has darkness in it, any node that you think this node is rather dark, either because it is just a dark place or because it is at night, will be impacted by this. So you're going to have to get used to looking for this if you use him, but obviously this is just going to be an extra increase to his damage numbers. So definitely something that is welcome. I think that is going to be one of his main niches, is using him on these types of nodes. It's just free extra 20% damage, and it's going to be really, really good for him to have that. His second skill here grants himself evasion for 2 attacks, 3 turns, so he does at least have some decent survivability, and then grants himself a buff on attack for 3 turns, where whenever he attacks with a quick card, before the quick card goes out, he'll increase his critical damage by 10% for 3 turns. So really, really nice in that regard, as this will allow him to have a stacking crit buff, and it does not have a times limitation like some other units have. So basically, as long as you keep getting those quick cards, if you're in a solo environment or you end up having the ability to lock his cards in somehow, it's actually pretty nice for him, as it's just meaning that he's just going to sit there and be able to stack upwards of basically all the way up to 90%. So really a nice increase if you can manage to secure it. He's also going to increase his own critical star generation rate for 3 turns. That is not dependent on him attacking with the quick card. It's just another part of the skill. And that is actually what levels up with the skill. And you can see this increases his star gen rate further by 100%. So 6 hit quick cards, 3 of them with a higher than class average, where the class is already high at generating stars. And we just boosted it by 100% more. He's going to be an insane star generator. So really, really good in that regard. His third skill here is Black Blade C+, and this is going to increase his own critical damage for 3 turns by 50%. So regardless of the stacking crit damage when you use his quick cards, he still just gets a base 50. So add that to the potential of up to 90% from that other stuff there, and man, you've got quite a bit of crit damage now for all of those quick cards. So he's going to then also grant himself a buff on attack for 3 turns, that whenever he uses a quick card, he gets 10% in P gauge. So that's just going to be really easily chainable. Think of it like Dioscuri, where obviously the arts card's going to generate for you a lot of Noble Phantasm, but sometimes the quick card might be better. And in this case, I think he makes a strong argument for using his quick cards. You're getting crit damage stacking, you are getting NP charge from it. This is a really, really nice set of skills. Obviously, when they go on cooldown, all bets are off at that point, but still, this is going to be really, really good for card performance. He's also, regardless of the proc, going to just flat out, when you press the skill, increase his own NP generation rate for 3 turns by 30%. So you're going to want to use the skill. You're going to want to level it up for looping purposes. But again, definitely a really, really nice setup for him. You can see here, he does have Presence Concealment A to increase his critical star generation rate by another 10%. And he does have Oblivion Correction B to increase that critical damage now up by another 8%. So basically 58% base, with stacking all the way up to 148% crit damage just from himself. I don't even want to think about the Scotty buffs on this guy, but still. Either way, it'd be really an interesting deck. His third append here is Anti-Assassin Attack Damage Aptitude. There is actually some synergy here for him, so you might want to consider this one. I'm not going to say that it would be the one that I would go with, because if you noticed anything about that, you should have noticed that he doesn't actually have a charge skill. He does have charge on hit from his quick cards if you're carding with him, but he doesn't have an upfront, actually usable skill to give him charge. So in that regard, mana loading is the absolute must-have, and I actually do mean that. If you want to loop with him, you really want that mana loading. You could definitely maybe do it without, but it would be really, really spicy to try. So I don't recommend it. Get the mana loading unlocked on him ASAP and try to use it, and it will actually really help him. Again, he does have the extra attack finesse. If you're really focused on carding with Shiny, then I actually recommend this as well, because this is going to be pretty good for him. So none of his appends are really bad. I recommend going with at least the mana loading. Depending on your likeliness to use him in like neutral scenarios against something like an assassin, then maybe the third append. But otherwise, I'm going to say maybe go with the second append, then the first append, then the third append. But still, all of them can potentially be useful. Just focus on the mana loading first. Now we get to his Noble Phantasm. It's, of course, Zabania as he is an Hassan, and you can see AoE wise he's got a 6-hit AoE Noble Phantasm. I think this is to help make up for that rather anemic NP gain rate, but again, with those kind of hit counts, you can see why they did what they did. So 6-hit AoE Arts NP is not bad. He's going to increase his own damage by 20% for 3 turns, activating first. So this just stacks as you loop him. He gets even stronger in a loop. And it's also going to give him some pretty insane synergy with Oberon. He's also then going to just deal damage to all enemies and then deal super effective damage to anybody that has the man attribute. This is why I said there was some synergy with that anti-assassin skills, because you might be able to find assassins that have the man trait just like Hassan. In fact, most assassins are probably man trait. So at the end of the day, that's actually a pretty decent synergy for him. It might not be better than just straight up using a caster, but it's up to you to determine whether or not that's something you want to go after. Still, man attribute, really, really a good thing. And again, against a lot of riders, I think you'll see there are definitely plenty of man-traded riders, and certainly berserkers as well. So there is a really, really nice niche to be had here. Obviously, we have man-traded niche on units like Ezo, so having it on an AoE is not bad, especially when you start considering farming applications. Unfortunately, he does have a 500% chance to deal damage to himself as a demerit here, and that's not going to be the best scenario for him, but if you're concerned with that, maybe just put healing command codes on, especially since you probably will want to be carding with him a lot anyways. So at the end of the day, it's just up to you to determine whether or not that's something you need to offset, or just leave it be because you're just going to be farming with him. From there, you can also see his overcharge effect for 1 turn will increase both quick and arts performance by 20% each. So again, more stars generated, more NP generation, more damage. All of this just really is synergistic at adding to itself. So it's definitely a weird kit, don't get me wrong, but the proof is actually in the pudding. His kit is actually fairly good. So again, like I said, they did add the new Darkness Battlefield type. I just have to make another mention of that because there are a ton of nodes that this will be applicable for. So this will actually be pretty decent for him in the same way that Sunlight Battlefield is really good for like Barghest and Gawain. So obviously you guys need to consider this whenever you're actually needing to take someone to a node. Now, with that in mind, obviously there are some options for CEs. Something like Black Grail is definitely doable for him. But you probably want that maxed mana loading if you're going to make it happen. In that regard, if you're really concerned, maybe you're not up against 3 set enemy waves, or you don't want to take the third support, something like Ocean Flyer, definitely going to be a little bit more into your wheelhouse. And then obviously, if you end up needing something for like Invuln Pierce, yes, Honey Lake is going to be great for you, especially because of his focus on carding. So remember, Honey Lake, with it being a power mod based benefit here, means that it's not only impacting his NP, but it's also going to impact his cards as long as the target has burning. So maybe if you put some burn command codes on him, he'd be able to do it. And obviously there are plenty of other Invuln Pierce CEs that you can go after. But again, I do think that Hassan actually has some decent performance in that regard. So let's talk about his refund. Now, remember, he doesn't actually have a charge skill in his kit, but his hit counts are all fairly good, and he does have NP gain and arts up in the kit to help him out. So if you're actually up against 3 enemy waves with double Castoria against, say, Riders, so something he would actually be effective against, you can see that basically with 3 hits of overkill out of a possible 18, that is to say, he managed to do 1 hit of overkill to each enemy. That is to say, he managed to kill each enemy. You would do, basically, with 1 hit of overkill to everything, 73% refund. And that is definitely within the acceptable range, especially if you can manage to get him charged up without maybe utilizing all of Castoria's skills. But certainly the way his charge scenario works is actually rather weird. You can actually see I do have a little bit of a graphic for this. This is something that we talk about all the time with like kind of how to break it down. I usually do like a little bit of a T chart and solve for 300, as I like to call it. But this kind of gives you an idea of the easy way that we found to do it. And this is using an Oberon as the third support. But you can see why we put such an emphasis on the append. There is 20% charge left over, but it kind of requires you to have at least the capability to split up your charge. So really, for a third support beyond Castoria, any charge that, or sorry, any support that can provide at least like 50% charge, but be able to split it up should work. So again, Oberon, Waver, Reigns, any of them should actually work as a third support for him. Might not be the best for damage if you're using one of those other options besides Oberon, but still would actually work for him. But again, it all just comes down to the timeliness and being able to actually make it work. So at the end of the day, I'm going to say he's at least restrictive with how it works. But again, he should be able to actually loop from 0, and that is the ultimate takeaway there. So if we start looking at, again, some kind of scenario with, say, neutral damage numbers, maybe in an idyllic setting here, we're going to end up with a really, really big graph. So let me go ahead and zoom in on this. This is Hassan of the Shining Star with 2 times Castoria, Oberon, a level 100 Black Grail, and a Neo Plug suit. So basically maxed out on everything there. But you can actually see wave 1 at NP1 with nothing else at play. You're looking at basically his numbers just constantly scaling and going up all the way down here to wave 3, where you end up at about 222k. If the target is man, so he gets that super effective niche, you can definitely see quite the bump up there in damage numbers at 333k. Now, the reason this is significant is for 2 reasons. One, this is not his additional NP levels. As you can see, the damage numbers get basically even more terrifying as you go down the list. And also the fact that, well, again, this does not include the darkness, and you're also going to be comparing them to the Valkyries, a 4-star welfare. So with that in mind, if we actually go ahead and pull up the Valkyries in a idyllic scenario for them, you can see they're assumed to be in P5 here. And with that assumption, at wave 3, you're looking at 291. Anti-Earth, it's a lot better. They start dealing a ton more damage. So at the end of the day, that 291, though, is basically immediately beaten by NP2. The 400 and I believe it was 80. Yeah, 480 from Anti-Earth with the Valks, though, is not enough basically to win at NP2, though, with Anti-Man for him. In Niche, instead, you're going to need NP3 at that point to beat him. That's just due to some really nice synergy in the Valks end. And at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing for him. But the thing that's important about this is, yeah, just basically NP2 of this would already beat the Valkyries. And the reality with this is that, again, this didn't include his darkness numbers. So if we actually pull that one up on top of that, you can see this is now just basically darkness field. It's the same scenario as before for Shiny Hassan, just we added a darkness field to it. So all the numbers just go up with that additional 20% attack. So right there, boom, immediately you can see NP2 just flat out wins. And basically NP1 is now giving it a run for its money at 250 base with 375 anti-man there in that final one. So again, not too much worse than the Valkyries. But I think the benefit to the Valkyries here is that they're just a little bit more loopable. That is to say, they have a very easy time refunding to full, even with just double Castoria in some scenarios. So yeah, I think this is going to be the big argument for him is, do you need him if you have the Valkyries? And if you don't have the Valkyries, how long will it take you to get the Valkyries? But he still has that anti-man niche, and that's something that the Valkyries can't do. So he does give you some more coverage. Thing at play here is there's also another contender for the AoE Arts Assassin niche. And we're not talking about Shootin'. Shootin' can work in some scenarios, but she kind of needs some love at this point in time, and I'm going to say that where a lot of people are going to focus instead is on Tezcatlipoca, aka Tez, or Wu, if you like to call him that. Wu, basically, with 2 times Castoria, Oberon, and level 100 Black Grail with a Neo Plug suit, definitely manages to make some headway here at NP1. His NP1 raw numbers just win against everybody, but basically his power mods do not scale as well as the super effective mods from the other units. The hilarious part about this is he's anti-divine and anti-super large, so he can actually double stack the power mods. But the second we start talking NP2 onward, yeah, Tez just going to win. So again, I'm going to say that at the end of the day, Shiny Hassan is actually a pretty good unit. He is permanent. He is a unit that basically people will be able to be spooked by. So I'm not going to say you necessarily need to roll specifically for him, but he is a nice treat to be added to that Marie banner. So if you do manage to pick him up, please understand that even at low NP levels, he can actually be more effective, basically, than, say, the welfares that are out there. You do probably want to get him in niche, but he is definitely usable. Let me know what you guys think about Shiny Hassan and whether or not you'll be going after him. And do you see yourself rolling on that banner or maybe waiting for a better banner if you maybe don't like the pairing there? Again, I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts, and I will see you guys for the next one. Okay. Woo isn't woo is? Yes, exactly. It's woo W-O-O. To make it even more confusing. Hassan of the Shiny Drip. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm gonna say, like, the only thing I see in this is I see a JoJo character. Straight up. This is a JoJo character, chat. Also, let me take a look at YouTube because I can't see you guys while I'm recording normally. Do caves count? Yes, caves count. At least as long as they're dark, right? Like the prerequisite seems to be that it must be a darkened node. How do you do 500 boxes consistently? Well, I whale. So, like, if I run out of apples, I will actually rainbow apple. But usually I'm still a stickler for saving the amount of apples, and that's because it directly saves me money. I don't think a lot of people get that about me, but, like, one of the reasons that I'm such a stickler for being AP efficient is because I know how much I do in lottos, and I know that any apple wasted is, like, more money out of my bank account. So I basically try to, like, minimize the effect by being as efficient as possible throughout the year. Realtor, she actually released? Yes. I need a link to the picture, please. Just type in !art. It's Shiki's wonderful Lartoria in a Starbucks outfit. Starbucks apron, sorry. Can't be in the night because it's consistently aglow with fire. Yeah, but apparently a lot of the Fuyuki stuff does count, so it's kind of funny. Persona dancing costume? Yes. Bro has Hassan plastered on his cap. He's not assassinating anyone. What do you mean? That's the HSN. He's clearly with Honkai Star Rail News. Anyways, where is Hassan of the Spoon? That's a good question. I don't know. Okay, so also, chat, y'all have probably been asking, like, what I've been doing for this node and why I'm doing the 90. Allow me. So the 90 plus gives scarabs and homunculus babies. God, I could not think of the name all of a sudden. So definitely not bad, but chat, I am already sitting on 352 scarabs. I also, like, literally have, like, all of my scarab people done. Like, this is like 352 overkill. Okay? There are some upcoming units that use scarabs, particularly Nido Altar, if I remember correctly. But and this is after doing so many boxes already on this node. So yeah, I just decided that, like, I've already cleared the shop. The 90 node is easier to do, and it has the material I need more. That's why, like I said, I'm just doing it. Just going. We're just going until we do it. And the strategy that I look for is I look for literally an NP2 or better Oberon. I can take an NP1. It does work, but it makes me have to do some things. You guys can see my comp right here. It is speed comp. I could probably make it faster if I tried a little bit more, but that would require trying, so. Kid Gil Oberon, it uses 4 buttons. Nice. Are you doing the 90 or the 90 plus? 90? So you're using DVR Kid Gil Oberon. Are you using Oberon to take out the final wave? Which node gives more tickets, 90 or 90 plus? They're about the same. It is ever so slightly the 90 plus. And I will show you guys that here in a second. Go grab Avalon's guide, because it makes Avalon's guide does a great job of it. He put in the Domus Aurea drop chances, and it makes it so clear how minuscule it is. Oh wait, hold on. Okay, so this is it. Let me change back to full screen here for a second. Okay. So chat, the way to read this is your bonus, your drop bonus going left to right here. These are the nodes going down. Again, they are divided into the rounds. So this is round 1, round 2, and round 3. And you guys can see you're in round 2. You want 90 or 90 plus. So we're going to come all the way over here and we're going to assume that you're at max drop. So basically the most blown out your bonus can possibly get. That's the difference. Top one's 90, the bottom one's 90 plus. That is not even 1%. Not even a 1/10%. So, yeah. Oh no, sorry. It is a 1/10%. It's not a full sorry, not 1%. So it's 226 for the drops, 200 versus 227. Okay, so it's like it's a difference of literally less than a ticket per run. Like a singular currency, less than a singular currency per run. Okay. Now here's why I'm gonna say in my case it makes more sense to do the 90. Do you know how much faster I can do this node as opposed to this node? So when I infinitely refresh, it doesn't matter. This is a money efficiency argument, but it's not a like actual drop efficiency argument. So I can just practically lap, and the difference in money is negligible because I'm not going to be doing that many more runs. Like that, I can literally do this node 226 times before this would gain a single run. I would have to run it 200 times before it would gain a single run in terms of efficiency. So it's like, we're talking like the choice to do this means I get done like 50% faster and I lose 50 more cents. It's not a huge deal. Personally, the 90 node seems more complicated to me than the 90 plus this one. Yeah, I mean, the final wave is at least a little bit spicy. And just to show you the malleability of this comp, I'm just going to go ahead and take Pachi in. So remember how I was taking Oberons? I don't have to take Oberon, chat. It's just an extra button press if I do it this way. That's it. 50 cents is a huge deal. Listen, 50 cents versus actual hours of my sanity, I'd pay 50 cents to get done with a lotto faster. Yeah, straight up. Like, I am 100% down. And especially, like, yeah, as chat's pointing out, right? Like, it has been months and months and months of farming events. I want the shit done. Like, I myself am burnt out, and you guys should know I don't get burnt out very easily in FGO. I've been playing this game for years. I've been grinding in it for years. This lotto's like pulling teeth to me. Any reason to bring the coins around for change? Yeah, I mean, like, again, you can see one of the reasons I'm using Bunny is Bunny's just so fast and buffs the party, so. Koyin can actually farm. You can do it in this node as well. Bunyan quite fast. Bunyan is the fastest in the game, which is definitely nice. Who said burnout? Not me. Me. But chat, also keep in mind too, if you're thinking like, CAD, burnout, okay. Chat, remember, I've gone through everything you guys have gone through on NA, and also JP. And it's also tax season. So like, yeah, I legitimately don't care. Like, I'm just getting this event done as fast as possible. And to a degree, like, I've pointed this out to other people. I'm normally faster than this at farming, if I want to be. I am trying to go faster, and I cannot physically make myself. I find my brain keeps wandering. Like I will do anything other than press the buttons on the screen because I like mentally don't want to do it. So it's like, this is me forcing myself to. I can only play one server or else I quit. Oh no, trust me, I understand. I don't advise anyone to play multiple accounts unless like you just really like to eat, sleep, and drink this game. But thankfully, after this lotto chat, we don't really have another grind event until November. So like you're in the clear. Like there are a couple scenarios that if you like the odds, you can go ahead and grind in, like a hunting quest. I believe we also have stuff like Guda Guda with the tea leaves. Things that like you can actually get more bang for your buck if you decide to grind them. And I'm going to show you guys. So this is using an NP1 Oberon. It's spicy. It can fail wave 2, but that's really the only problem with it. And the reason it's spicy is because if Oberon fails and leaves something alive, he does invuln with his NP. So like, it's no bueno. Can you use this comp with an MP1 Koyan? You could. You would just probably have to press more skills. So like, you can see, I don't even use that or the Mystic Code. I also don't normally use this. But since I took an NP1 Oberon, I'm going to go ahead and pop Bunyan's defense down right here, and that'll make sure it kills. Is there even something you need from the Morgan Lotto at this point? Oh, that's a good question. I'd have to actually look at what it drops. I have not looked into Morgan Lotto at all yet. Okay, the Fairy Night Cup. Lottery. What do we got? So we have Aurora Steel Homunculus Babies. Y'all still want to be doing the 90 plus? Stingers of Death. Proof of the Hero and Stakes. The Stakes wouldn't be bad. That's about it. I don't actually need anything else there. When is the Morgan Lotto? In November. Oh, I know they're homunculus babies, yeah. What's the math to count how many boxes one currently has? It's basically how many tickets you have divided by 600. So it's like it's 600 currency per box. And you can see my NP2 sometimes lowballs this. I don't care. I like basically waiting on the like Bunyan animation to go out and kill the enemy is way faster than waiting for like Oberon to put someone to sleep. But you can see this is pretty nice. I am tempted to try I'm tempted to try Avalon's comp and see how it is. I think the only problem is I think my kid Gil is actually like decently bonded at this point. It's chill, good. Can you? I assume you can do it with MP1 Oberon. Yeah, so you're probably having to put Oberon's third skill on turn 3. Yeah, that's the only thing that worries me because like as this is, I do nothing. Everything is pressed on turn 1, and that's it. It's 4 button press turn 1. I sleep. The only problem is I have to watch out for an NP1 Oberon on support, and that's actually really easy on my support list. I'm very blessed. Some of y'all wailed on Oberon, and I can't believe it. So it makes this a very brainless comp for me. So 60 equals 100 boxes? No, wait. Yeah, 60,000 equals 100 boxes. Okay. Sorry, I saw the period and I forgot like people use the period like we use a comma in a lot of cases. Mine is 4 buttons because I'm using Oberons with level 10 mana loading. Yeah. Yeah, that could be a thing. And like you could use your own Oberon and stuff too. The problem with these sorts of things is that like in general, so like why you see me doing comps like this is I'm trying to avoid using any of my meta sports. I'm still using Koyan Sky of Dark, don't get me wrong, but like I would prefer not to use like my own Oberon or my own Koyan Sky of Light, my own Castoria, anything like that. One copy of Bugman is all that I need. Understandable. I haven't used my meta support since Tunguska. Yeah, I haven't either. Like it's actually been really good in that regard. Like this is the benefit of having a lotto where there's like basically like 50% charge fees and stuff is like you don't have to care too much. I do think this is a big reason why they started doing crap like 90 plus plus though. I think they went like, man, people aren't rolling for additional MP levels anymore. Like people are just taking Oberon. They're just shitting on stuff, and they don't even have to take their own Oberon. Because like chat today on JP, just doing normal par for the course, run of the mill using my AP during an event. I hit Bond 12 on my Tamamo. I predict that by the end of this year on JP, there will only be one meta support on my entire JP account that is not Bond 15. And that support's going to be Summer Scotty, probably. That's it. Everybody else will be. Oberon, Koyanskaya, Castoria. Shit, even some of the ones that aren't really considered that meta. I predict like Tamamo, Proto Merlin, Nero Bride, like they're all gonna be Bond 15. So then like you start going down to some of the lesser rarities and units like Paracelsus, Bond 10 already. Asclepius, Bond 10 already. Like I legitimately have even a lot of the low star units already at Bond 10. Could I Bond Grail them? Yes. But this is definitely a bad scenario to be in, that the devs are like, hey, you don't need Bond 20. Just roll more units. And I'm going to go, hey, devs, I can't. I have them all, and they're all bonded. So it's basically why I am taking the stance that I'm taking with my NA account, where I'm just starting to go like, oh, if I have the opportunity, I'm not using them. Ever. Because on my JP account, a lot of the times for ease, I just used them. But now... Hey, devs, release more. Yeah. Proto Merlin getting worked to death when I get my hands on her. I'm definitely looking forward to Proto Merlin on NA. Especially because, like, my JP one's just NP1. I really want to see how good an NA1 is with, like, NP5. Proto Merlin's one of my NP5 targets this year. But that's why, like, I just wholly reject that sentiment from the devs. I don't think they're doing something for the benefit of the game anymore. I think they're doing it for the benefit of their wallet at that point. Like, because that to me is a very like close-minded approach that they've taken. But I also get like, when I say the devs, right? Like, obviously it's the higher ups. It's not the rank and file people. It's not like the NA localization staff is making like, decisions based off the monetization of the game. It's not like the rank and file coders and stuff are making decisions as to how the game is modified. It's like it's basically the people that are the decision makers. And Semicolon, thank you for the follow. And Steel Main TV, thank you for the follow as well. And Praxic, if I didn't say it before, which I think I did, thank you for the follow. NP5 Lady A because Saber Voice. I have another reason, but I won't reveal that until I roll. What the fuck is this madness for 90 note? It's actually so fucking smooth. I told you all about this. I've been doing this since day one. I told like all of VIP about this, and I even told FGO General about this. I'm just like, screw this. I'm not thinking. Do you want to know the comp for that? What for Ace? Like she's not out on an A. So what do you mean? Like, are you saying like for like handling content? Yeah, I've used Ace before for stuff like that. You can't really use her like a support, but you can use her at least to like, you know, help charge. And I think that's fine. It's just like she's not gonna like when you're starting to talk like 90 plus content, it's like it's not gonna be enough, unfortunately. Not without like taking the meta supports alongside. But I will say that at the end of the day, I think Ace is a good unit. And I actually do really like the way she functions now that I get her. When she first came out, I was like, this is just fucking weird. But now I get her a lot more. What MP level and skill levels of your Coin of Dark to make this work? You probably want maxed out first and second skill. You don't need to touch the third skill. The second skill is maybe at least debatable as to whether or not you need it maxed, but the first skill is non-negotiable because you need the 30% charge. So, and you probably want MLB copies of the CE. You probably want a maxed out mana loading on your Koyan Sky of Dark. You can maybe make do without MLB CEs on one character. And it would only be Koyan Sky of Dark, ironically enough. You would need it on Bunyan. But, like, technically you don't have to use Bunyan here. You could use anybody that can, like, buff the party. Because Bunyan has no charge. And I don't have Bunyan's append unlocked. So you can see when she comes in, it's 50% starting charge right there. And Bunyan has nothing in her kit that gives it, right? So that's basically all I'm doing is pressing these 4 skills. It's everybody's first skill, and then Koyan Sky of Dark's second skill on herself. But I do have a NP2 Koyan Sky of Dark. So it's like, it's a little bit easier for me, but if you don't have it in P2, just pop an extra skill. Because there's so much damage in this comp that I'm not using. I don't have Oberon and JP, and she works fine with one support Oberon. Yeah. Yeah, that is the nice thing about this. And like I think to me, a lot of my stances on the game are largely influenced by 90++, and not to the degree that you guys are thinking it is. Like, I actually de-emphasize being efficient in plus content. I think plus only matters for lottos towards being efficient, and everything else you just want drop efficiency. So you want to take like 6 CEs if you can and just waltz right into a 90++ node, and then who cares how many turns it takes you. But I will say that I hate that. Like, I hate that is the like meta strategy to being efficient, and that like in reality, because of 90++ content, my JP account has regressed. It has gone backwards from being able to 3-turn anything, who cares about the NP levels, to now I actually, like, for a lot of the 90++ nodes, have to spend like anywhere from like 4 to 6 turns clearing them. And it sucks. I hate that. I don't think that's a good thing. I think it's just tedious and annoying for people that are trying to be efficient. But I totally understand that I am kind of gaming the system. Yeah, no problem, Cal. Everyone below Bond 11 till US. That's gonna be difficult. I am, my NA account chat has 2 units left, two stars or lower left that are not Bond 10. One of them is currently in the party, so it's pretty obvious who it is. Do you want to guess the other one? I think I said this the other day, so you guys might know, but didn't manage to roll Koyan Dark, but honestly I have a lot of spare sand quartz at the same time. Yeah, you don't have to have Koyan of Dark, but she is really nice for stuff like this. And it's also why, like, chat, whenever people are like screaming for her to like get attention or get upgrades, I'm like, yes, you can give Koyan Sky of Dark an upgrade, but she is not, like, she doesn't really need it. She is still a very good unit in her own right. She's just not meta. And that, I think, is like not the end of the world for a lot of units nowadays. Bond levels my Angry Mango, Bond 10. Give Rising Mud Rain on JP. I have 2 copies of it, not in MLB though. And did I use it on Ace? And do I think it can be helpful? Yeah, sure, it can be. Can you show off John and Jalter's AUs, please? Ooh. Do I have AP on JP? Let me double check. Also, chat tomorrow to give you guys a break from lotto programming, since I have definitely streamed already. Like, this will be like the second full day of just lotto pretty much constantly. We'll be doing Dragon's Dogma, assuming my computer can run it. And I say assuming because I've done the character creator and like it's crashed multiple times on me. So I've actually spent like 3 hours in the character creator because of that across multiple days. But yeah, like if I can't show you guys the Jalter updates tonight, remind me tomorrow, and I will try to do it for you guys tomorrow before Dragon's Dogma. Like the lotto streams, it's nice white noise. Oh, you're gonna love Dragon's Dogma then when I'm screaming as I die brutally, because I've never played Dragon's Dogma before. Like I didn't play the first one. I'm really excited about this one because I've looked into it more, but I get the feeling that I'm gonna get destroyed. What are my system specs? They're enough to run the game, but it's at least suspect on the realm of like drivers at the moment. So I suspect that's what's going on. Yeah, let me double check over here. Let me see how much AP I have. I saw you playing D&D recently. What's your opinion on Baldur's Gate 3? I love it. Love Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3, like retroactively, I'm gonna say is my game of the year. Like it just easily wins it. There were some contenders for that for me, but like the just sheer level of like detail that the devs went into, even though it was not a perfect game, it's a lot buggier than people give it credit for. It is still fantastic, and I love it. And I hope Larian like doubles down and does more with it, but I haven't heard much on that front yet. Okay, so it looks like I do have enough to at least do a node. Let me double check here. I mean, this is kind of a spicy one. I can show you guys Jalters. I don't know about John's. John's is going to be a little bit more of a spicy meatball. I'll try to turn it on as well. I could never get into the first game. I heard very mixed things about the first game. I heard people loved it, and I heard people were like super annoyed by it and hated it. And the more I look into Dragon's Dogma 2, the more I realize how that is possible. So it's like, I kind of get it, right? Let me turn it on slow for y'all. Not bad. I definitely like the skill activations more. There's a lot more vibrant. I gotta do the mighty chain. I actually like that they put the 3D sprite in the background circling around that. That's really nice. I had not seen the animation updates really in full yet. Like, I've seen the NP, but I hadn't seen what they had done with the skills. I also know they updated her, like, sprite some. Mada mada. They're actually doing animation updates again. Well, hold on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay? Like, let's not assume that just because they did it for John and Jalter that they're gonna keep doing them. I'll believe that when I see it, right? Like, because at this point, I just don't trust them. Yeah, it's like, it's cautious optimism. It's like, if they do it, great. I will praise them for doing it. Well, holy shit, it's been 2 years, chat. I think it's definitely a concerning issue at this point. All right, let me show off the NP. I have no idea if this will kill. Actually, let me heal her just so she don't die. Thoughts on Hassan? I actually just got done doing the recording. I think he's pretty good. He's not like the best, but I think he's actually pretty good. Yeah, ironically enough, seeing it in game, I'm way more okay with it than I thought I would be. But she didn't kill. I didn't have her buster buff though, so I understand. Nice and design-wise? I mean, I'm not wild about his design. He, at least in first essentially, he looks like a JoJo character to me. I just have taken to calling him Shiny Hassan, as that feels the most appropriate. Let's just do this. Let's do this. It's 5-turn cooldown, so yeah, I should be fine. I don't need to pop that, none of you are man. Oh no, I didn't take it off. We're doing the whole note on slow motion, chat. You showed me Muramasa and Jalter's face during the NP, and it's basically the same picture meme. Oh, 100%. In chat, I'm gonna say this. As fun as it is to meme on them for, like, doing similar type stuff, y'all need to, like, understand and not, like, lose your cool when, like, developers reuse assets. It's a thing, 100%, and I don't know why anyone's upset over it, because it's just developers making their job easier. I get when it's, like, overdone and stuff, but to me, it's like, I'm okay with it as long as they change it up some, right? Like, as long as it's not the exact damn same. And they've definitely done that with Jalter's animation. It doesn't look like Muramasa in there, so. It's waste not, want not. Yeah, exactly. It's just devs being more and more efficient overall. Oh, this probably won't kill. I didn't even think about that. They don't have Oberon here. Yeah, I only did like half the amount. It's okay, I should still have one more turn of buffs. I probably should have waited on that though, till I actually had cards. Oh, you know, that might have helped too. There we go. If you're gonna complain about acid reuse, you should complain about all the saber phases too? No. Why would I complain about the saber faces? The saber faces are actually very different looking for the most part. Yeah. Like, still though, like, I don't know. To me, there's two things I don't really like about Jalter's animation update, and I'm more okay with it now that I've seen it in game. The first is I don't really like that she's holding the I don't really like that she's holding the flag upside down. To me, the old sprite looked more imposing with her holding it up, like, cockily. But now that I've seen it in game, it actually doesn't look as dumb as I thought it did, just from the initial cutout. And probably the other one, and this is probably more the hard sell for me, is that, like, during the close-up of the face shot in the NP, her hair is, like, blown out behind her, and it looks kind of weird to me. Like, that's my only gripe. But, like, again, I still think overall it still looks really good. I'm still really happy with it. That's just me being nitpicky for the most part. You can cover someone else so I can't see them. The tried and true one, right? So yeah, just remind me. I'll try to find a way to, like, work John in one of the other ones. But is the opposite of Ruler John? Oh, it is. It 100% is. It just, to me, it doesn't look as good. But, like, at least the way they animated it in game, it looks a lot better than when I saw the still of it earlier. John's my favorite of the two updates. Yeah, I actually really like John's. But it's also just because, like, I have no issue with John's, whereas I do with Jalter's. I'll take anything. Extra attack looks dope. Yeah, it does. I think the work that they did, at least on the... And, like, I am going to say, chat, like, people are being like, oh my god, she desperately needs upgrades. And I'm like... The extra attack and the NP largely look the same. They just made them 3D assets. That's it. And it looks good. I like it. But, like, it's still largely the same looking. What really needed it was the sprite itself. Like the old big head John, if you've seen the side-by-sides, it's like, oh man, that just does not look good nowadays. It's like, I don't know if you guys have seen, probably the worst one that I've ever seen is old big head Arash. If you guys have ever seen that, oh man, that did not look good at all. And I think I can actually pull it up. I think fandom still has the old sprites in some cases. Oh, looks like they got rid of some of them. Had old Waver looked glorious? No, he didn't. Or gorgeous, sorry. GM is a clown. No, you can't say that. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if I can find it. It's under gallery now? Okay. Oh, hold on. I gotta stop that so I don't get demonetized. Yeah. Yeah. All right, chat. So here's a rash. And here's a rash. Uh, Hold on, let me so you can see just how much that one changed. Yeah, it's like a rash lily. He looks like he's like way younger. Like it just looks so bad. Then again, all the old big head sprites look pretty rough in that regard. Now show waivers very first. Oh god. Why are you people like this? Well, okay, I assume you want like him in his older form, right? Like, okay, chat. Okay. So here's waiver now. And here's old waiver. It looks like it's like a shitty sprite from like RimWorld or something, or like Fallout Shelter. Like seeing the like flash between them just makes it worse. Waiver from Ragnarok Online, yeah. It's pretty yuck. It's rather stylized. It is, but man, did it not age well. Like, I'm gonna say even the new ones are stylized, but they still just look way better. Waiver at home, yes. A lobotomy corporation. I could see that. Just imagining Oberon looking like that. Yeah, I would actually, in a weird way, I would like to see somebody do like a series of like sprite edits, but they reverse engineer it where like they go back to the old sprite, so they take newer characters that weren't present when the old sprites were a thing, and they make them worse. They make them cursed. I would love to see that. They call it a sprite update too. No, you should like call it a sprite undate or something. I don't know. Like you need to meme it. It needs to be like the reverse. It's devolving. Like, because that to me that just looks that the thought of seeing some of the like newer units with stuff like that would just make it be like, oh god, that's so bad. They should do a chibi event. They should. I mean, they kind of did, right? Like, if you guys remember, we had the chibi like plushies with like Ku Alter and stuff like that, and you had to level them. Wait, what event was that? What was that from? Little Big Tengu. Yeah, there you go. Early FGO was a whole chibi event. What do you even mean? True. Mr. Roboto. But yeah, so chat. So I made my sprite for Dragon's Dogma. So like, if any of you guys are going to be playing, if you're going to use pawns, I'm going to see if I can like find the code and get it out there for you guys. That if you want, you can run around your world with me, and I'll annoy you. I will be that pawn that like absolutely like doesn't do what it's supposed to. Maybe they can bring back old big head sprites as alternate April Fool's costumes. I think that would at least be an interesting one, right? For only $29.99 a month. No, you don't have to pay me. I'll straight up just like absolutely be terrible for your party. Like I'm gonna be the pawn that like immediately like just jumps in the water and dies. I'd rather you give us Aurelia. So I thought about that, and I'm going to be playing as Aurelia, because that's usually what I do a lot of the times. I play as Aurelia, and then if there's a side character, I put myself in. Um, and I was just like, no, I don't want to like prostitute my waifu out. Yeah, a little bit like I hope they actually do something for April Fools this year. We got it coming up here, so we should be like wary of it. But I have a feeling they're probably going to phone it in or not do that much because we got Ordeal call here. But Chad, are you saying that you don't want me to accompany you on Jolly Cooperation? JP will probably do some app again. Probably. It's like it's my only annoyance with those things that they're only available for like the one day. But it's probably like a rights issue, and like them needing to pay like fees if it's there for longer. They probably like cut a deal with the Apple and Google Play stores for like it's available for one day. We pay this set amount, and then we don't have to pay you more. Have I heard about the HSR collab? I have not. I saw there was like some new like trailer or something that everyone's memeing on for Honkai, but other than that, like I have no idea what's going on in that game anymore. Nor do I really care in that regard. Admiral Perry is a 1-star with 500% damage mod against Japanese servants. Bro. Something tells me they would not put that in, right? Like, you know, I'm going to say there are not many things that the devs would be like blatantly biased on, but that would definitely be one of them. Love Lies mobile game getting localized. You got Monkey Pod? Yeah. I think it would work with Guda Guda. I mean, they could definitely do something crazy for Guda Guda. They usually do stuff like that. And Samurai Remnant was first teased. I was really hoping Commodore Perry would be in as a servant. Yeah, I actually feel like he would have fit that time period. I'm surprised that they like didn't, right? Oh, speaking of chat, there was a ton of like gaming news over the past couple days. Let me pull that up. We could talk about some of that. Oh yeah, so like the most recent one that I posted was Starfield. Apparently, PC Gamer did an actual journalism, and they put together a article about how I guess Starfield apparently now, like with them making it, Bethesda has like over 500 different devs working for them. And they got a Will Shin, who was their lead quest designer, on the record. You can even see him in like the promotional trailer that they put out for Starfield, like that big 40-minute like deep dive that they did prior to its release. And like he's no longer working at Bethesda. And he said that like one of the problems was that they have way too many devs and the departments are not talking to each other. So it's almost like a BioWare type situation where like he said basically the departments compete with each other and they don't actually like collaborate for resources. And it's like, oh man, that just sounds so bad. Like I hope that's not the case. That's deeply concerning if that's like the reason that Starfield isn't as fleshed out. So, like to me, that's way more impactful than hearing anything from like people on the internet bitching about Starfield. It's like that stuff I don't care. But when you actually hear that behind the scenes that like shit's hitting the fan, apparently, it's like that's not good. I don't ever like to hear that. Donate some devs to the single. I wish, right? I guess there's a new Sparking Zero game for Dragon Ball. I have not watched that. I assume that's a fighting game, but. And then, yeah, oh god, we had all the Apex Legends stuff. So I'm not fully up to date on this. Someone in chat might know more than me, but I guess like Apex Legends during one of their like finals tournaments or whatever had like at least a couple of their competitors / streamers get hacked. And I've heard that it apparently was not in fact the anti-cheat, but I have not heard whether or not like it was something to do with like their servers or something. Like that apparently there's some like compromise in Apex's servers, which is oof if that's the case. They compete with each other, such a stupid thing to do. Yeah, like I understand how it happens, and he kind of explained it that like basically when you have multiple departments like side by side and then you need to implement something, it's like, hey, we want a chair, right? Like so it's like these guys saying we want a chair, and then like the animation department's over here and they're like, wait, do we need to animate the chair? The sound department's like, do we need to add sound effects for the chair? And so it's like everything has to get approved by every department. Everything like has just a chain of command that it has to go down, and it gets really cumbersome. It's a logistics nightmare apparently. But to me, it's like that's a good argument for why they shouldn't have as big of game studios then. Like it's an argument for having smaller, more independent studios because they're tighter knit groups that can work more cohesively without all the red tape. So it's like, good lord. Because it sounds like a lot of it is just like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Yeah, okay. So I posted the IGN report on Bungie. I posted earlier that there was a big like uh leak apparently regarding it, and that's that internally, supposedly at least, Bungie is not doing so hot that apparently Sony views them as a failed acquisition, which is like oof, right? Um And so apparently a lot of it has to do with like I guess Sony is probably either going to like hostile takeover Bungie at this point. And it's not really a hostile takeover, so calling it that's just to give you guys an idea of like it would be them basically forcing their way in and taking over the rest of the shares and them basically cutting a lot of their side projects that they're working on in order to save Destiny, or it would be a very concerned but like-minded dev within Bungie taking over the company and probably gutting Destiny's leadership, because apparently that's the problem is Destiny's leadership is like just lazy as shit and like just basically milking the game for all it's worth. And they don't like they apparently like cancel like their regular meetings that they're supposed to have with Sony on their progress. And so like Sony I guess only has these like quarterly, and so every single time they cancel it they know full well that they won't be able to reschedule until the next quarter. So it's like it doesn't sound good either way. It sounds like basically if Sony takes over, Destiny lives in its current form but maybe gets like repurposed, but all of Bungie's other side projects are gone. But then if the Bungie dev takes over, like the side projects are saved, you save a ton of dev jobs, but the total leadership and control of Destiny is probably gutted and gone. So at that point, it's almost like they would have to rebuild the leadership from the ground up. Re-Avengers a thing now? Yeah. Never watched Dragon's Dogma walkthrough, so we'll enjoy your experience. Nice. Got to see the first game at a friend's house. Yeah, I've seen at least tidbits of the first game, and like it was not like the most graphically good, but again, it's an older game, so I kind of expect that. But this new one looks beautiful. Oh, I did see this, and I do like this. I gotta give credit where credit's due. Overwatch 2 devs are finally waking up. So, Overwatch 2 is now making all heroes freely available. Like, if you're new to the game, you'll still have to go through an onboarding process to unlock the initial set of heroes. But there's no more locking heroes behind a battle pass, which is like, oh, thank God they finally realized. And like, to me, that wasn't a super big concern, but I can definitely see why for some people they were like, this is just stupid. Like, you've got a PvP driven game where there are metas and counters, and you lock some of the heroes behind a battle pass where people can't really get them quickly or easily. People are going to hate that no matter what. So, like, I kind of get it. But so they did that, and then apparently they're going to be upping the amount of currency you can gain, but it's not by a lot, so I don't think that's good. But then also there will be now a new mythic skin shop where past mythic skins can be worked on to acquire, whereas before there was like no good way to get them. So it sounds like they're at least waking up. It's still not enough for me. I'm not going back to play Overwatch 2 because I still think the progression for unlocking anything in that game is trash. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. You know you have a bad system when your current iteration is shittier than loot boxes used to be. Like the loot boxes they used to have in Overwatch 1 were a better progression system than it currently is right now. So like I hope that like ends up being a thing that they finally come to their sense on. And if they do, then I'll finally go back and play some Overwatch 2 again. But until they do that, I ain't touching that game. Because like, as much as I can enjoy the gameplay, what keeps me playing Overwatch 2 are two things. My friends and being able to unlock cool shit. If there is a dollar value on that, I'm not doing it. It's not worth it to me to have to keep paying for the game over and over again. I don't value the service that much. To people that love Overwatch and do want that, I completely understand paying for it. But for someone like me, it's like, nah, it's not worth it. It's not worth my money. I think that's what they want you to think, to make people think that loot boxes are better. No, they're not. I'm just saying it's a travesty that loot boxes are legitimately better than their current shitty system. Their shitty system is much more designed for them. Like, so basically, if you wanted to unlock a skin in Overwatch 1, you would have to save up and get it. It might be something that might take you a week, maybe even a couple of weeks, but you could get it. Unless it was like an event lock thing and then you had to wait for the event to come around. But you could still save up until that event came around and then buy it then. In the current system, if you want to actually like work your way and get enough currency to purchase something out of the shop, 8 months. That is so fucking stupid. And it should not be that long and drawn out. I am not grinding for 8 months for one fucking item. That's stupid. Yeah, I know. I saw someone break down the math on a fucking video and I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I knew it was bad. I didn't realize it was this bad. So to me, it's like, I'm glad to see that they're waking up, but holy crap. And then, yeah, like World of Warcraft is getting a freaking like battle royale mode? Like, what? That's like, that was not on my like bucket list of things to expect this week. Just completely out of left field. Is anyone that plays like WoW still and is super deep into it, like had they announced this prior to now? Or was this completely like out of left field? Because I had no idea about this stuff. Are they trying to be the next Fortnite? To a degree, I think so. I think, like, from what I saw, the devs stated, like, a lot of it is just to mix up the formula on their end, and I don't blame them for doing that, for trying out new game modes. But, like, yeah, I'm also going to say I also think it's typical Blizzard greed. Like, is that a left field? Interesting. They kept secret until it's released. Yeah, that's just legitimately wild. And I did see, yeah, there was another article before all that Overwatch stuff that apparently these story missions for Overwatch 2 have been reportedly canceled. Like, basically, they've already made certain statements to say that, like, they were de-emphasizing it and stuff like that. But turns out that, like, even the devs that still are at Blizzard don't think it's getting worked on at all. And that the majority of the people that were working on it were who got fired in the layoffs. So it's like, uh-oh. So it looks like Overwatch 2, the entire premise of which was for PvE content, is not going to have PvE content after all. It's been canceled again. I don't even think it's canceled again. This is just an article that, like, it's now the devs internally that are saying that they don't think it's actually a thing, right? So it's like that's terrifying. Like I said, I honestly, this is one of those rare times that I actually think that Blizzard should get sued over it. Like, they basically sold everybody on a lie. I think they should actually get sued over that crap. Wasn't the story reason the reason they moved on? Yeah, it's at least why they stated they needed to do Overwatch 2. Because in order to do story, we need to overhaul the game, blah, 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 blah. And now if you pre-order the game, you'll get access to the missions. And it's like, no, right? Zero reason. Yeah. But I don't know. I think they could have done a better job. Any Urzia Battle Royale, I'd be interested in. Well, it's like I think the only thing that's a turnoff for me about that is that it's like predominantly like pirate themed, which is really weird to me. Yeah, I get that they went with something that worked in universe, but it feels like overly like Sea of Thieves slash God, now I can't even remember it. The shitty Ubisoft uh Black Flag ripoff. I was sure something was in the works for the big lie Blizzard did. I mean, I will say this. I think like maybe the changes to Overwatch 2 that are coming out are probably meant to counteract that, and also probably a strategic change by Microsoft now that they've taken over. Skull and Bones, thank you. Yeah, like I actually think that that Microsoft is probably already like moving internally and making some big changes within them. Being like, hey, you need to focus on this shit, not this shit. Skull and bullshit. Your opinion on the Jalter and John animation update? I like them both. I have a couple issues with the Jalter one, but I still think it's good. A secret animation? That I haven't heard. We're putting them on clearance. It's sad. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not surprised if any physical game doesn't move at this point. Like other than new releases, right? The unlocking of all the heroes is nice, but wasn't there a rumor of canceling any more story missions or so? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Anyone tried Grand Blue Fantasy Relink? A couple of the people in VIP have tried it. It seems interesting. Um, like I think the only concern for me that I've heard from people is that it like apparently gets repetitive because it's very hub based like Monster Hunter. But other than that, I don't know. I definitely haven't had the time really to consider it with all the new releases that we've had. But maybe like somewhere down the line, it might be something to pick up and try. They already knew the PvE wasn't going to happen before they launched Overwatch 2. You know, I think like they probably still had hope that it would, but I think a big reason why they did is that they kind of realized they were at a do or die, that they had not like pushed Overwatch 2 out already for years, and that they kind of just needed to get it out and make some money off of it. And I think that's why they did it. And they were hoping that somewhere in the process, probably that with new revenue income, or sorry, new revenue inflows and more like popularity coming back with Overwatch 2, that they would then have the resources that they need to do PvE. And I think that was a pipe dream, because I think the reason they didn't have PvE in the first place is because they're dysfunctional. And that kind of proved it. So it's like even when they got more money, it didn't help. Yeah, when was the last animation update in FGO? It was Tesla during Tesla Fest 2 years ago, aka where NA is right now. This is actually the 2-year anniversary. Anyone have advice for the Tota CQ? Like, what did you use do? A lot of people solo it. Some people did just like Mellison. Some people did just like a solo with Enkidu and stuff like that. But basically, you just want good Lancers. But that's also why, like, I'm waiting on the Giga Coil to unlock at this point so I can get those done. Yeah, did you ever beat Three Houses? I did not. That's definitely on the bucket list as well. I actually have a ton of games that I need to like go back and complete. I've actually started like compiling a list on the side of like games that I need to play for chat, and I may like put it up to a vote and say like, all right, what's the next one whenever we have like downtime, where like I'll still try to play like the new releases and things that are coming out, but it may be like, hey, do you guys want to see this or that finished, and let you guys vote on it. The only problem with Three Houses is definitely long as shit. Because I think like we still weren't even to the turning point of the first house that we were doing. So. And I know there's a turning point. I don't know what it is. I've just heard this. So. That's a good idea. Yeah. Finish the Fate, LV. Listen, I would love to, but now that we know that there is a like remaster coming out in effect, I'm like, I may as well wait for that. Which house did you pick? Was it the Blue Eagles, chat? The Blue Eagles? Or the Black Lions, something like that. Yeah, the Blue Eagles. Yeah, I still remember the jokes. But yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed Fire Emblem, so I was enjoying it a lot more than I think people thought I would. Because I remember a lot of people telling me I was going to get like super frustrated by it. And to a degree, I've definitely been frustrated by games like that in the past. But so far, it had only pulled bullshit on me like once. And so I was largely okay with it. The thing that always annoys me with the tactical games is where you functionally won, and then like the map goes, hey, cool, what about these sudden reinforcements that we didn't warn you about out of nowhere? I hate reinforcements in those games so much. But most of the time it's been pretty manageable. The TLC is frustrating, so I've heard. Yeah, the Blue Eagles and the Black Lions. Also, chat, my favorite Digimon is Pikachu, and my favorite Pokemon is Angewoman. Enemy ambushes suck, yeah. And the only reason that I don't like them is because there's no warning that it's like gonna be a thing. At least usually in some of these games. I have seen some games where they like go like, hey, reinforcements arriving in X amount of turns, or like they'll tell you to expect reinforcements and like before you go into the mission. Throw a Digiball? Yeah, I will. Remember Angewoman started out as a cat? Did she? I actually have no idea. I obviously I know a little bit about Pokemon. I don't really know the first thing about Digimon in all seriousness. I know they're digital monsters. Oh, what did I just do? Oh, this might be a scuff chat. Hold on. I did a thing. I barely remember Digimon. Yeah. The new Jalter animations makes me want to summon Fur again. See, now I want to point this out that like when I make these comments about buffing and updating and like helping out some of these older units, I always point out that if they do that, more people will roll for them. And I feel like sometimes people don't take me seriously on that. And I want you guys to understand that, like, it is a thing. People are more likely to roll for new and shiny. And that doesn't have to be new and shiny in regards to, like, the unit actually being new. It can be updates. It can be improvements that can make the unit feel like it has new life to these people. And Peaceful, thank you for the 40. Yesterday was my birthday. How dare you miss stream on your birthday? How dare you? Yeah, can we get some Feels birthday mans? No, it's perfectly fine. Thank you for coming to stream anyways. Imagine if Artemis was buffed. Oh yeah, I think people would simp for her, right? Like at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing that they have an issue with it with some of these units is just that these units are not that good gameplay wise. And that I think if they actually helped them out, that people would be like drooling over them left and right. Digimon was the more mature digital monster franchise as to Pokemon growing up for me. Really? I just assumed they were both for kids. So, like, I actually don't know. Have tons of backlog games to play, and yet devs still dare to produce new shitting game with woke propaganda. Yeah, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, I'm sorry, games are just like movies. They're just like anime. They're just like any form of media entertainment. It's escapism. Like pure and simple. I do not want to be reminded of all the shit stuff going on in our world constantly, regardless of how I feel about it. I just want to like veg out and become a knight, or like go and like cybernetically enhance myself, or like straight up pal around with my bros and shoot some NPCs. That's it. That's like, I don't want to think about the real world. I want to have fun. Like, the real world can be fun, but I don't need people taking the non-fun elements of the real world and thrusting it into games and rubbing my face in it. Period. Third season of Digimon is more mature than the whole Pokemon anime. I mean, I have said this before too, especially as like certain fandoms age. I am really surprised that a lot of these like IPs don't take a like dual form approach. So I have to at least give Disney some credit here. So Disney came out with Andor for Star Wars, and Andor is a much more adult show. In fact, like, not only is it the first Star Wars that I can remember there being a blatant sex scene in, it's also the first Disney show I can remember there being a blatant sex scene in. So, like, does it show anything? Not really. But, like, the whole point to this is, like, it would have just been, like, implied, not even, like, really, like, ever shown in any way, shape, or form. So, like, the fact that they actually did that already tells you that it is a much more, like, much more serious and older type of programming for like programming for older people rather than like just kids, right? So I am surprised that as some of these IPs get as old as they do, that they don't go like, hey, yeah, we still need to keep the youngest generation coming in, but also, hey guys, remember that show that you saw as a kid? What if it was like mature and edgy and dark? And, like, I'm actually surprised that more IPs don't do that. I feel like that would be good in some degrees. Like, I still remember seeing that, like, fan-made, like, trailer for a supposed movie of, like, a more adult, gritty, and, like, bloody Power Rangers. And I remember, like, people were like, oh my god, this is amazing. They need to make a movie out of this. And then they never did that. And I was like, why the fuck did they not do that? That would actually just, like, the community gave the IP a free money ticket and they didn't do it. Andor, the best Star Wars show that Disney put out that we didn't need. Andor is a very slow crawl, like, especially at first. I'm not the hugest fan of how it starts out, but I get that they need to, like, establish shit. But by the end of the show, yeah, it's really good. And I've heard we're apparently getting a season 2 of it, so I'm really excited for it. I don't want them to touch anything else from my childhood and make it for modern audiences. No, in that regard, I completely understand and I agree. Like, they basically say that I once heard Co Carnage, a really good streamer. I once heard him say that eventually you live old enough to see all of your childhood memories destroyed. And I'm like, yep. Yep. Like, you start thinking about how many IPs have been destroyed over the years. But, like, yeah, like, in that regard, do I trust people to do it right? No, I don't fucking trust anyone to do it right. But if they manage to, God, would it be worth? I think it would actually be really cool to see some of these, like, sort of childhood IPs actually developed more and have a, like, just a more adult oriented thing to it. But again, yeah, it's like with any show, it has to be done right. And if it's not done right, it's gonna suck. And sadly, there are way too many things that suck. I am currently in the process of watching the Shogun show. It's actually been really good. And it's supposedly only gonna be one season. And like low key, I can't wait to see how the entire thing plays out. But like, if it does end well, like it's seeming it will, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be great because it will never get a season 2 that will never have to live up to expectations and just destroy everything for everyone. It's just going to be a short, clear, concise show. There's only one book to adapt. Yeah, exactly. I even watched the last movie, the last trilogy. I planned refused. No, I had to force myself to watch the final movie like 2 years later. So I get it. Rewatching destroys kids shows too. Yeah, I mean, like to a degree, right? We're actually rewatching through Avatar right now. I don't know how like chat feels about it. We basically got halfway through book 2. But like for me, like I've never seen it before, and it's great. I'm loving it. But like, I assume even for the people that have already watched it, it's great and they're still loving it. So I don't even necessarily think like if a show is done well, I think it still stands the test of time. Even if your sensibilities change to a degree. I'm just happy Dune is getting some incredible movies. Yeah. I've seen a lot of discussion of late that people don't understand that Paul Atreides is not supposed to be the good guy. And I think that's kind of true / not true. Like, it's definitely showing that, like, Paul is not a just, like, like, tried and true good guy. He has to do a little bit of evil to get what he wants. And it is unfortunate that he has to. But, like, it is definitely interesting to see that, like, oh, yeah, people just assume it's, like, it's the good guy. So Attack of Titan before Attack on Titan in a modern parlance? No, because Attack on Titan doesn't do it well. And I'm dead serious. Like, I loved Attack on Titan through the first 3 seasons. Fourth season's not it. Like, I'm sorry. I know people want to get hype about it. The 4th season, that show just went off rails to me. It's a mess of world building. It's a mess of like character development. And it's a lot of it is just shock value and trying to subvert expectations, and I didn't care for it. So it's like I respect people that want to like it, but like for me, it's not it. Final season, final part, Act 3. Yes. Avatar still great. He-Man does not hold up. You mean like the original He-Man or like the Netflix He-Man? Because like the Netflix He-Man's trash. I know because I watched it. I haven't watched the like 2nd season, but like I'm not going to, and you can't make me. 2nd season's so bad, man. Can't wait for the He-Man remake, She-Man. Yeah. So new sub goal? No. No, chat. Chat. If I have to watch it, you have to watch it with me. And you're not gonna want to watch it. It's that bad. Like the first season of the Netflix show that they did, like it butchers He-Man. Butchers him. Like the joke about She-Man right there, it's a joke, but it's also true. Like you may as well have called it She-Man because that is all it is like, oh, He-Man's actually like super helpless and he would be nothing without the women that surround him. It's so bad. I can't watch it. I saw the He-Man movie from the 80s. Will you watch the next Castlevania? Probably not without reading reviews. I'm probably done with the Castlevania show. That season 4 or whatever it is, Nocturne, like it's that bad as well. Um I saw somebody basically that very succinctly pointed out that it's like everything wrong with it. It's like it basically has like weak as shit vampires. It doesn't portray Christianity in a positive light. It like bastardizes all the characters. It adds in characters that nobody asked for or wanted. It basically doesn't have any of the main cast of Castlevania. There's no like Vlad. There's no Alucard, and like it's only towards the end of the season that you even get people that are from the original. And people pointed out, it's like, it's just not Castlevania. It's like some hollow shell of a show that tries to be Castlevania. And I'm like, yeah. So it's like, while the end of the season, the final episode of the season actually makes it a lot better, and there's some hope for season 2, I'm not giving it the benefit of the doubt because season 1 was that bad. Yeah, I had to like me and Creamy watched it together, and like I can be somewhat of a critic with shows, but not like in a bad sense. Like I'll just point out as like, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that. Creamy can too, and usually we're critics about different things. And both of us watched it together and agreed that the show was bad. Like for different reasons. So it's not a good thing. Do you have any hopes for the Fallout TV show? Yes, because the creator of the show is actually apparently a longtime Fallout fan. So, like, so far, the clips that I've seen of it, it seems decent. Like, I'm not going to say it's the best thing ever, but I actually am somewhat excited for that one. So, hopefully, it's good. I can't believe they did my boy Richter like this. Yeah, it's so bad, man. I'm confused by Halo Season 2 having legitimately good reviews. Don't believe it. Just do not believe it. It's a bait. They want you to buy Paramount. Okay, because I enjoy the first season of Castlevania. Yeah, like the original seasons of Castlevania are great. Like I'm talking only Nocturne. Nocturne's terrible. Don't watch Nocturne, chat. It might be worth it in the end if they can salvage it, but like as it currently stands, don't watch Nocturne. It gets like a 3 out of 10 from me. Do people here have an opinion about the Netflix Avatar? I'm sure some do. I've only watched the first episode of the live action. Hope Fallout is better than Halo. I do too. It was because people keep trying to make the thing more grim in a show. I think you can do grim. You can do grit. You can do seriousness. The key is to always like not go over the top with it. So, and I've said this before, but like if you start thinking about like a grim dark IP, I'm gonna give you guys an example. Warhammer 40K, Dark Souls. Trying to think of like some of the others, right? Like basically any grim dark that's done well has hope. You can't have a feeling of like darkness, despair, and fear without hope. If there is no hope in a universe that someone is making, there's no fucking point. Like, the people are struggling for no reason. They're doing nothing for no reason. So, like, it's something to me that, like, each one of those IPs gets right is that there's usually a reason for them to keep going, a reason for them to think that they will find salvation or at least get out of the hell that they are in. And if you don't have that, your shit's just grim dark for the sake of being edgy, and it's bad. So it's like, where I remember it is like literally the very first Dark Souls. You go in and like there's a point where like you get to like the roof of this castle that you've been fighting through. And it's like right at this one point, you just have like the rays of sunshine finally beaming down on you. And it's like, it's such a surreal moment that you actually just stop and you're like, ah. Because you haven't had that throughout the entire point of you battling through that castle. So, like, it's really nice to have that ray of sunshine, that beam of light, that hope injected in for a split second in a game that is just brutal to you most of the time. And it's the same thing in 40K. It's like the whole reason everybody like in humanity is fighting against all these demons and aliens and terrible fucking things is because the Emperor wills it and they believe that they can be saved and that they can eventually establish a foothold for humanity and kill off all of these threats. Not true, but they believe that. It said that people nowadays live grim and sad. I assume you meant love grim and sad shows more than ever. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a testament to like the human psyche nowadays at large. I'm not. Yeah, again, I'm someone that's raised old school, classical on old media like Tolkien and stuff like that. So like, I believe in hope. I believe in like being positive and trying to like look at least glass half full. I know it doesn't sound like that because I have a lot of criticisms of video games nowadays, but that's what allows me to keep going is internally. That's what I believe is that there is hope. There is salvation for people. And so at the end of the day, it's like, that's what I look for in my stories as well. And I think that's kind of how some people are is they've truly given up and they've truly like think that nothing good can come of it. They're awfully pessimistic. And so people look for stories that match that mentality that they share. I don't like it because to me, at the end of the day, like if you're going to tell a story, the story needs to be worth telling, and the story's not worth telling if there's not like some trial or tribulation to overcome, some way to, you know, better yourself at the end. And so if that's not there, if there is no reason to be doing what you're doing, if no good can come of it, why the hell are you doing it, and why the hell are you telling the story? Do you read Stephen King? I do not. I'm aware of his works, but I do not read them. Roll in the Gunslinger series by Stephen King. So does Stephen King do more than just horror? Because that's like, my understanding was he's mostly horror. Interesting. I was unaware. So maybe I thought I was aware, but I was actually unaware. But yeah, it's like, to me, that's something that that like I find fulfillment in the hero's journey and like basically somebody trying to overcome something. It doesn't matter who or what the hero is. It just matters that they're on a journey and that I can empathize with it. And I'm somebody that, you know, I actually like a lot of media. As I get older, I'm certainly learning that there's some media that I like less and less. But I usually like a lot of different forms of media. Like I can absolutely be fine with something that's grim dark as long as there's like either I'm taking it in short doses, or it is again got like those moments where like, hey, everything seems hopeless, but then the character is reminded that there is in fact hope. Have I watched the new Dune movie? I have not. Not at the time. I already said, for me to watch the new Dune movie would require me to probably miss a day of stream. So it sucks, but I've heard good things. So I asked the question though, most is horror. Yeah. No, and that's the whole thing. Is like I actually saw a discourse about this that like apparently Tolkien never really openly said this, but I guess he hated Dune. And the reason he hated Dune is because Dune is a very like Machiavellian, ends justify the means, political drama, right? Whereas if you look at something like The Lord of the Rings, it's a like battle for ideals, for like saving the people, and not for like greed or anything like that. There is greed, but it gets battled and it gets defeated. So a lot of it's more about hope, it's about uplifting, it's about like struggling against something that is evil but overcoming it. Whereas Dune is a lot more about like struggling against something that is evil but giving into it. So I can kind of see why he felt that way if that's the case. I'm not sure if that's actually true. It was just something I saw on the internet. But like, yeah, I think that's actually quite interesting. And I think like a lot of like works that are derivative of Tolkien nowadays, Tolkien would probably hate just because they don't have a positive outlook on things. Heard bad things about Dune because he changed stuff. I did hear that he changed certain things, but I didn't hear it was to fit his agenda really so much as like apparently he tried to shed some more light on things that were not that fleshed out in the original novels, which not sure how I believe that he manages to do that, but I think it's also because he's aiming for 3 movies. I remember how hard it was reading through it because I did not like his writing style. Um, the only issue that I had reading through it was the first book. Sorry, this is gonna sound weird. The first book of the third book. So the first book in part 3 of Lord of the Rings. So basically, the Return of the King is split into 2 books. The first book is Frodo and Sam's journey to Mount Doom. And it's not done how it's done in the movies. In the movies, you jump between them. It's much more evenly paced. And I know why they did that. Because when you read through Return of the King, you read the entirety of Frodo up to the point that he casts the ring in Mount Doom, and then it switches. Then you start following around Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli after Helm's Deep, and their journey to Gondor, and like their battle against Sauron's armies. So like they cliffhanger you, and they leave you there. The problem that I have with it is that like the journey of Frodo and Sam is very torturous, very long, and honestly kind of boring. Like there are some really good snippets in it, but it is definitely very slow. It is a slog. But that's the only hard part that I had reading anything of Tolkien's. He does use some Old English here and there, but and actually I'll say this. I can completely understand if someone had a hard time due to all the like references he makes. There is an appendices that they actually have at the back of the book that you kind of need to like reference sometimes in order to remember who is who and what is what. Because there's just a shit ton of names. I don't even remember the Old English. It's not too bad. Not especially not if you find a more modern adaptation of it. As a Lord of the Rings fan, what's your view on the old Lord of the Rings Bakshi movies, the cartoon movies? I remember, I don't think I've ever watched through them all. I definitely remember seeing one of them, or maybe like seeing the Hobbit version of it. And it was interesting, but I was not like super ecstatic about it. Like where I first got into it is I remember the movies started getting advertised and I expressed excitement and my mom was like, "Oh, do you like that? I have the books." And she literally gave me her copies. So like the versions that I have of Lord of the Rings are like, oh god, they're like from the 60s. Like I have really old versions of the books. Not like originals, but really old versions. First editions, no. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Oh god. Giving your audience a way to understand what the words mean in the back as translators note is nice. Yeah, that's basically what a lot of it is. It's because like there's a lot of references to like times before Lord of the Rings or people and like historical figures, and you'll have no idea who they are unless you read the appendices. Or if you've read the Silmarillion, which is not the Rings of Power. Rings of Power is actually licensed by the Tolkien estate to Amazon from the appendices to Lord of the Rings. So basically, Amazon tried to cobble together the Silmarillion as best they could without having the rights to Silmarillion. So they had to do it by virtue of just the references at the back of Lord of the Rings. And that is why it is so trash. Also because they tried to change it. After 11, don't burn yourself out too much. Cat, it's like you don't want to watch me farm eternally. Yeah, it's okay. Let me see who I'll be on. I see Mr. Fino, so I'm going to send you guys his way. Especially since numbers are diving here tonight. You guys didn't want to stick around. But I'm going to send you guys over. And again, I will be back tomorrow. We'll still be doing some FGO, but we're definitely going to be doing Dragon's Dogma. Like I said, I should have my pawn ready for that. So I will see you guys for the next one. Go give Mr. Fino my love. And good night.